Chairman Fletcher, do we have all of our board members present?
I am looking right now to see 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm counting 8.
You see 8. Okay. I see the 5 counting me. There's 1. Well, if you see the 8, then I'm going to.
I do see 8 board members. I
Okay.
just don't see. No, there's Michael Branda.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica.
Amy's in now.
I don't think Mrs. Yap is here yet.
Oh, that's right. That is who we're not seeing.
Okay. Well, it's 7 o'clock and we have a quorum. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's December 15th, 2021. The time now is 7:01 p.m. This meeting is called to order, and as you are able, please rise to your feet to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ms. Craig, would you do the roll call?
Michael Branda.
Here.
Danielle Drozd. Here. Dr. Bruce Fletcher.
Here.
Beth Mankey Hutt-Wagner.
Here.
Richard Laverie.
Present.
Amy Parati.
Here.
Sam Sharma.
I saw his name.
I did as well.
Unmute him.
Richard here. I spoke with Mr. Sharma tonight. He should be here.
He is. Sam, just unmute.
Yep, he's here.
Yep, I'm here.
Jessica Weaver.
Here.
Anastasia Yap.
Here.
Everyone's present.
Thank you very much. Well, at this time, we're going to move to our item B, the presentation of awards and proclamations. So, Dr. Brummett, take it away.
Thank you very much. We have many things to celebrate this evening, so I'm thrilled to do so. This is our last formal board meeting of 2021. So, looks like someone was trying to present there. Anyway, our first order of business is our Everyday Hero Award, and I am pleased to announce that it is going to Michelle Pizzaferato, who is a teacher at Elizabeth Green. She was nominated by Brian DeRocher. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Brian writes that most people know how difficult the first year of teaching is with curriculum, family, communication, and creating your own classroom. That being said, this is my first year of teaching. I could not ask for a better teammate and grade level partner than Michelle Pizzaferato. From the daily check-ins from my classroom doorway to initiating our strong professional learning community, Michelle is an all-around professional. As I glance into her room each day, the instruction is tailored to meet the needs of all students and their vast learning needs. The content learned in that classroom is not just what comes from teachers, college, or investigations, but it is infused. My apologies. It is infused with identity and personal discovery work. As a district, our goal is to close the achievement gap. Michelle believes that in order to close that gap, students must be aware of what makes them truly special and unique. She not only exposes students to different ideas, but celebrates who they are in every interaction. I was extremely fortunate to be offered a position in the town of Newington, but I'm even more fortunate to have the opportunity to work with Michelle. So Michelle, I do see that you're on the line. You will be receiving this lovely Everyday Hero plaque tomorrow. And we are thrilled to award you with that. I'm going to give you a virtual round of applause, and everyone around the table seems to be clapping. And as luck would have it, Mr. Marciano's on the line because we have another lovely award coming up soon for your E-Green school as well.
I'm so excited
Dr. Brumman, I am so proud. They're an awesome team, and they work so hard together. And Michelle is a beautiful soul and is an awesome teacher. So thank you.
Yes, I was very struck by that nomination, and you know, supporting a new teacher during COVID, during all of our work this year, is just amazing. Dr. Fletcher, would you like to solicit any comments, or should we do that at the end? What would you like to do?
Well, if that's the only presentation, why don't we take a moment now and give the board members an opportunity to share, as well as some of her co-workers, if they're in here and they want to say anything. And also, I would like to just ask everybody, if you are not speaking, please mute your microphones so we don't get too much background noise. Thank you. Ms. Hutt-Wagner.
Hi, just wanted to say thank you so much. I know as a teacher myself that it is a crazy year, certainly. And to be supporting first-year teachers is just so incredibly important. And just thank you for that. Thank you for setting a positive culture and climate. You are absolutely an everyday hero. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Weaver.
Love Fest is back. I'm so excited with our new board. The Everyday Hero Award is something I think that's really awesome, and it makes us highlight the everyday heroes that don't always get the recognition that we think they all deserve, because everyone's an everyday hero in our district. But it's so great to hear this, and I always learn new things, and it's great that the community learns new things about our teachers. So I'm so excited, and congratulations. I echo best sentiments 100%. We know this is not an easy year. It is not easier than last year by any means. So we just really appreciate all the work that you're doing. And it's always wonderful to hear, you know, how you're helping out not only our students, but our teachers as well. It really means a lot, not only to us as board members, but to our community and to our students. So thank you so much. Congratulations. And welcome to the Everyday Hero legacy that we have going now.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? I don't see any more hands. So Dr. Brumman, I'll turn it back to you.
I didn't know if Ms. Pizzaferrato would like to say anything before we do our next presentation.
I do have a crying 16-month-old in the background, so I apologize for that.
We can handle it.
I just wanted to say thank you to Brian and our team, Alicia, Brian, and myself. We've really found a nice, great, cohesive group working together. So I'm so fortunate to have the team that we have, and I don't consider myself any sort of hero by any means. And this one kind of caught me off guard, but I'm so fortunate for my team and the people that we work with each and every day at Green. So, and Newington in general. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was a pleasure to hear all those nice things about you. And thank you for your efforts to support your fellow teachers. All right. Well, tonight seems to be an Elizabeth Green night. A few months back, I received some exciting news in my inbox that Elizabeth Green was going to be honored by U.S. News and World Report. So here's what I heard about E. Green School. They, of course, identified them as a public school. At the time, they had an enrollment of 284. They're a little bit higher than that now. They serve students grades pre-K to 4. And at the time that this acknowledgement was noticed, they had students, 62% of their students scoring at or above proficiency in reading and math. So that was a high level accomplishment. The other reason why they were being acknowledged is because the school actually has some of the highest diversity in our district. More than 50% or about 50% of the students in E. Green are other than white. So we have a diverse team over there at E. Green. And we have 40% are economically challenged. So I believe U.S. News and World Report wanted to acknowledge that even with some of those, what some might consider some challenges, E. Green has risen above that and created some fantastic results. And having visited there many times, been in classrooms, talked to the team, the teachers, I know that everyone there is extraordinarily dedicated to the children. They work really hard in their professional learning communities, and they do some really fantastic work around social emotional learning, which I believe has all contributed to that. So they're considered in the top 200 of all elementary schools in the state of Connecticut. And they are considered one of the best elementary schools that U.S. News and World Report did honor. So we are extraordinarily proud of what they've been able to accomplish, and so excited that we got them this nifty plaque, although it looks backwards when I show it to you. It's very nice. We will proudly hand it off to Mr. Marciano and his team tomorrow. Perhaps we can, I believe he's already mentioned this at a faculty meeting, but if he hasn't, I'd be more than happy to attend a faculty meeting and present the team with this well-deserved honor, and then they can proudly hang it in the front foyer of the school. So anyone visiting E Green will know that they are an award-winning school who do amazing things on behalf of our children and, you know, have really worked hard to get this type of success. So I will now turn it back over to Dr. Fletcher to see if he wanted to garner any comments from the board.
Okay.
Congratulations, E Green. Oh, wait, virtual applause. All right, back to Dr. Fletcher.
All right, so Ms. Droz.
I just want to say congratulations. That's awesome. Never an easy task. So thank you for doing that for our kids and for our town. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Weaver.
Okay, I just want to say, as an E Green alum, this makes me so excited. I should have brought like my 2004 graduation t-shirt. That probably doesn't fit, but no, it's a wonderful, wonderful place, and it's even more wonderful because of the staff that we have and the teachers that take care of it. Mr. Martigliano, you've done a great job, and I just applaud you and your staff. It's been an incredible ride just these past 2 years to watch all of the things that are being done. And yeah, I'm totally biased 100% that it is the best elementary school. But now we just have a plaque to prove it. So I'm glad that's the case. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Hutt-Wagner.
Also an Elizabeth Green alum, second generation Elizabeth Green kid right here. And I did my student teaching at Elizabeth Green. So that school holds a really, 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 really special place in my heart. I've always felt like family walking in there. My grandma actually used to be the librarian's helper. I'm going like way back when the library was in the basement of the school. So she has some really cool stories about that. So amazing school. All of Newington schools are, but just being able to walk in there, no matter who you are, and you just feel, you feel like a big hug. And so that's because of the dedication of the teachers and administration and families all working together. It's just a really beautiful thing. So congratulations to all of you. And please echo that to all of the teachers as well.
Yes, congratulations. And I know that there is a former principal of Elizabeth Green in the meeting tonight, and I'm sure that she is very proud as well. Am I right, Mrs. Krause? All right. So, Mr. Sharma.
Hey, I just want to thank Mr. Marciano and the whole team at that school. Thank you for making us proud. Good job.
Okay. Any more board members? Anastasia Yap, please go ahead.
Hi, I just want to say congratulations to everyone. This is super exciting. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Congratulations. It's awesome.
Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Brummett.
Do I get to speak? I'm sorry. Do I have to raise my hand? I'm terrible at
Oh,
that.
I didn't see a hand. I'm sorry. Please, please.
I'm so glad U.S. News finally caught up and figured out what we all knew. My team is pretty fantastic, and I'm very excited to accept this award. But I am humbled by the people that I work with, and by the students that I serve, and by the families that I work with. They are amazing, and each and every one of them contributes to making our school I see it as the best place in the world. But our real goal, and what we talk to kids about, and what we want to accomplish, is being better than Disney World, a place that excites kids and inspires kids to learn and be excited about being in this place, and working with the staff and with each other. So I appreciate all of the congratulations. And on behalf of my staff and my students and my families, we thank you for all that you do, and appreciate this recognition. Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations again. All right, Dr. Brummett.
Well, we're on a roll tonight. Now, this is not going to be about E. Green. We're going to switch our attention now to John Patterson Elementary School. A few months back, I received a letter from the students of Miss Sanzo's grade 1 classroom. And just as a little bit of backdrop, we were making some plans over at John Patterson to fix their parking lot over there. We've had, for quite a long time, we've wanted to expand it and also repave it because it's not in the best of condition, and many parents are concerned about parking over there as well as staff parking. So the kids got wind of that, as did Miss Sanzo, because they were worried that when we were to expand that parking lot, it may impact the beloved Shady the tree. Now, it's important to know that Miss Sanzo and her class spend a lot of time with Shady the tree. That's a tree that is front and center on the side of I've been over there to make sure I understood which tree was Shady. The kids go out there, they read under Shady the tree, certainly with all of our mask breaks now and other protocols. Maybe not right now, but earlier in the school year and last year, they were utilizing that as a mask break area. And they wrote me this very wonderful letter that I wanted to share with the Board of Education. Dear Dr. Brummett, we heard that people want to cut down trees here at John Patterson to make a parking lot. One of those trees that might get cut down is our class tree named Shady. We do not want Shady to be cut down. Shady is a place where we go to read books, write stories, play games, and take breaks. It is fun to watch Shady's leaves change colors in the fall. We also release our monarch butterflies under Shady. Sometimes the butterflies land on Shady's branches and leaves. We have also buried some caterpillars and butterflies who died under Shady to help the earth. If we need more parking spaces at John Patterson School, maybe parking lot can be made around Shady and the other 2 trees. Or maybe a smaller parking lot can be made instead. We hope you understand why Shady is so important to our class. Trees are also important to our community and planet. They are homes for animals and insects. They give us shade when it's hot outside. Trees help us to breathe by giving us clean air. Thank you for reading our letters. Please write back to us and tell us what you think. So each student also sent me their own letter with a drawing of Shady the tree, as well as reasons why they love Shady. Now I'm going to read the names of the children in the class, and if they're on the call tonight because they were invited, can they please raise their hands so that you get recognized by the Board of Education? Landon, Anthony, Riley, Aria, Jace, KB, Abby, Aviana, Parker, Sienna, Max, Roman, Holden, Jacob, Grace, Ida, and Noah. So I was so impressed when these students, I didn't write them back. I went straight away over to John Patterson School. I went into their classroom and we talked all about this. And the students were very pleased to hear that their voice matters. So we are going to do everything we can to not bother Shady when we work on the parking lot at John Patterson this spring and summer. So we are, and Miss Sanzo has been a wonderful advocate and really worked with her children. And we all know that Miss Sanzo and her class are big fans of Shady. So I'd like to turn this back over to Dr. Fletcher to see if he wanted to solicit any comments. It does appear there are some hands raised.
Okay. I know that we've got some of the students, their hands are still raised. I'm not sure if they want to speak or not. If they do, they leave it up and I'll call on you. And boy, they disappeared quick. All right, so we'll begin with Ms. Droz.
Hi, guys. I just want to tell you all how brave you are. And I love the fact that you stuck up for this tree. That happened at my school, too. They were going to cut down a tree, and my students, they're a little older than you, they got together and they did the right thing. So keep using your voice, keep being who you are, and you're the reason why we're all here. So congratulations, guys. I'm proud of you. I know that's not easy to do.
All right, thank you very much. And Ms. Hutwagner.
I am so impressed by all of you. That is a really, really beautiful thing that you did. And my son goes to preschool at Patterson, so I absolutely know Shady, and him and I have walked under there several times. And I just think it's so special. I think it's wonderful how you all used your voices and spoke from your heart and really helped this beautiful tree. So I want you to keep up the great work. And I'm just so excited to see what you all are going to do someday, because my goodness, if you're doing these things at this age, wow, big, big things to come. So wonderful, wonderful job, and happy holidays to all of you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Leverrier.
Hi, good evening. Questions for Dr. Brummett. What was the student's first name whose letter you read, please?
The letter that I read actually was the class letter. That
the class letter.
The whole class wrote it and signed it, and then each student or many of the students sent me individual letters.
And which teacher was that from?
That was from Mrs. Sanzo, who she is on the line tonight. I see her. She's just waving right now. She is the teacher, and she obviously is a big advocate for children and wanted them to have a voice in something that might happen to their school. So that's kind of the progression of this event.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. And we have a student representative, James Vendetti. Please go ahead.
It seems as if we have a bunch of student board of ed reps in the call this evening. Yeah, that warms my heart, especially because I was in Mrs. Sanzo's class when I was a wee first grader, and I remember that. I don't know how many times we were underneath Shady reading, but it was the best of times. God, but I wouldn't do to go back there. But yeah, just great on the students. Hi, Miss Sanzo. Jack says hi. Just wow, great on you guys.
All right, thank you very much. And Ms. Yop.
Hi, everyone. My son also goes to John Patterson, and he knows Shady the Tree. He released butterflies under there. I think it was Mr. Polis, so that's awesome. I was going to say congratulations, and thank you so much for being brave and, sending in those letters, and thank you. I think it's awesome.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Parati.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. Congratulations to you students. I think that's amazing what you did. You saw a problem, you wrote a letter, Dr. Brummett responded, and I think that's awesome. I think you should continue to doing that. Tell your parents to do the same thing. Mrs. Sanzo, thank you for giving your students a voice and saving Shady. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Perhaps the teacher? Mr. Sharma?
Well, I just want to reach out to everyone. What you've done is so inspiring. So keep it up. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Hi, it's Stephanie Sanzo. And I just want to thank Dr. Brummett for, I know it's such a busy time of year, but she came, I think the next day after receiving the letters, came right into the classroom and took the time to talk to the kids about it. And it just really showed them that their voices, no matter how little, do matter. So, I mean, the whole experience was very meaningful to them and fell right into citizenship, global citizenship and community and persuasive writing. So it couldn't have been more meaningful. It couldn't have been, more of a perfect time for that too, for them to experience that and for the results that ensued to come their way. So it's just been a great experience. And kids, hi Jimmy, hi Jack. Kids even in the school have heard about it and will come by the classroom and say, oh, we heard about Shady. We heard what you did for Shady. So they're so proud. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, it looks like there are no other hands raised up, so I will turn it back to Dr. Brummett.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. I am now just going to quickly present my last honor for the evening. This year, something I've wanted to do ever since I became a superintendent, I worked with Mrs. Fiola to do a holiday art contest for potential Christmas or holiday card design. And I was so thrilled to get a tremendous response. I probably received over, I've lost track, 300 to 400 entries. And boy, oh boy, was it hard to decide. There were so many wonderful, wonderful entries. I asked some of my office folks to help me make some decisions. And tonight, I would like to honor the selections that were made. I chose one entry from every school that entered. So each elementary school had entries, and the high school, I allowed 2 honorees there. And I want to also say, before I show the designs, is I have sent these out to many, many people. They've gone to all members of the town council, the mayor, the town manager, folks at town hall, all the board members got them. I also sent them out to all of my Hartford area superintendents who I spend a lot of time with. And I saw several of them recently, actually yesterday, and they said, Dr. Brummett, I love those cards. They were amazing. They were so impressed with the quality of the cards. And I'm continuing to send them out. And now I'm going to send them out to every administrator in the district. So your cards are going everywhere. And also, I forgot to mention, all of our winners, I am going to send them a copy of their own card because we took their design and made holiday cards. So now each awardee will win or will get one in the mail probably late this week or early next week. So without further ado, let me show you the winners. First winner is Claire Perrault from Ruth Chafee. And her design is coming up as soon as it stops swirling. Look at that. She's in first grade, and it was just a very bright and wonderful design. So Claire Perrault is our winner from Ruth Chafee. Let me go back. Our winner from John Patterson is Callahan Hotchkiss, and her design is coming up momentarily. Sorry, she goes by Callie. She's in grade 3, and look at that very warm and friendly holiday card. I'll tell you, on these holiday cards, everyone is smiling broadly. It's very, very exciting to me. From Elizabeth Green School, we have Gabby Alicia, and there is her design coming up. And she even incorporated some lovely sentiments about peace and love. I thought that was a wonderful sentiment for the holiday season. And we also have from Anna Reynolds, Samarth Swain, and his award is his design's coming up momentarily here. There it is. And what struck me about this design is the best holiday gift is my family. I thought that was a beautiful sentiment. He wrote happy holidays. So again, a very nice holiday tribute. And then our high school award winners. This is a 9th grade student from Newington High School, Faith DeFrancis. And this was a beautiful kind of forest design with these intricate snowflakes. I just thought it was unbelievable, borderlining on almost a professional job. And then last but not least is our last winner from, again, Newington High School, a student by the name of Benjamin Niez. And his design was really cool. It was like a fox walking through the forest in a snowstorm. So you can imagine with these amazing winners, all the others that I looked at, it was so, so hard to pick. But again, these students have done their school district proud by creating these designs, taking the time to do it. And I would like to thank their art teachers. Mrs. Fiola, who's our head of our art department, could not be here tonight. She had a family obligation, but I believe we have at least one art teacher here. Is it Deb Singman? So again, they were very helpful in getting this organized, and I can tell you the feedback from the community and from anyone who's received the cards thus far has been extraordinarily positive. So I will turn it over to Dr. Fletcher if he wants to solicit or receive any comments.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you very much because I received mine. And one of the types of cards that I love the most are the ones that are handmade. And I always hang on to those. I have a place that I'll keep it after the holidays are over. So thank you to all the students that participated, and congratulations on the winners. And Miss Weaver.
I just want to say congratulations. I think we have some of the artists on the line tonight. So wanted to say congratulations to you all. And they're beautiful. I have to give a special shout out to my cousin Faith because she is a fantastic artist and no bias here. I did not know she was picked until we got her card. Yeah. So it's, you know, I can't even draw a straight line. So it's always impressive to see what creativity all of our students have. I think one of the great strengths of our district is the investment we have in our arts program and the artists that we produce. You know, one of our favorite parts is seeing student art in our art shows. And I think this is a really great way to showcase all of the talent we have here. So well done to everyone on the line and not on the line. It absolutely made, I know, a lot of people's day. It made all of our board's day. As our last retreat, we got those special cards and we each got to see a different one. So it's always great to see the talent, not only at the high school, but down to the elementary level. There's so much amazing creativity and talent in our students. So we really appreciate it. And I know a lot of other people receiving these cards will appreciate it as well. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. And Miss Barati?
Thank you. I actually have mine right here from Samarth at Anna Reynolds. So I just wanted to show everybody how beautiful the card actually is. But I think everyone did an amazing job. It was a great contest, Dr. Brumman. I think I hope you do it again because I think more students are going to love the opportunity to have their pictures sent out across the state and country even. So thank you for this and congratulations to all the winners.
All right. Thank you very much. And Miss Yop.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you. I got my card also. They're beautiful. And you guys are fantastic artists. I can't draw at all. So thank you and congratulations. You guys did an excellent job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Leverrier.
Hi, I got a card too. I want to say thanks, Claire. It's a beautiful picture. And congratulations to all of the winners.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Sharma.
Just want to thank everyone. I mean, those are beautiful cards. So thanks a lot. Great job, everyone.
It looks like one of our students has their hand raised, Mr. Alisea or Miss, I'm not sure. It's Isaiah Alisea, the name on here. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually Ileana. That's my son's. I didn't realize I was signed in under his when I logged out. But my daughter Gabby was one of the chosen cards. So I'm excited to receive mine in the mail soon. And I want to congratulate all of the students. And it was a surprise. I didn't even know she had entered into the drawing. She talked about it, but never told me that or showed me until I got the email from the school saying she won. I was like, oh, wow. So that was a nice surprise. And wasn't sure if it was going to be an opportunity to be able to purchase any of the cards, even to give out to family members and stuff like that. I don't know if that's something that can be done.
I hadn't considered that, but I will see if I have any left over of the designs, and then I can let the families have anything that I'm not going to use, so that way they can use them.
Okay, that's good. I showed a couple family members. They're like, "Oh, can we buy them?" I was like, "I have no idea. I didn't even know about it. So I'll find out." But it was a great program, and she was excited. So I'm sure a lot of the other kids are going to want to do it next year.
It's great.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you. And it looks like DJ.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So we are Samad's parents from Anu Reynolds. Thank you for selecting his card. And he feels so excited about this. And this is a nice forum to interact with everyone for the first time. Thank you for inviting us. And thanks. Happy holidays to all of you.
Same to you as well. And Ms. Peralt.
Hi, I'm Claire's mom. Just wanted to say thank you. She's really excited about it. Especially wanted to just give a shout out to Mrs. Gaida. She's a wonderful art teacher, and we're grateful to be in a community that values the arts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So are you finished with your presentations, Dr. Brummett? Whoop, you've been muted.
Ms. Sigmund, would you like to say something? I saw your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Brummett, for showcasing our students' work. It was so meaningful. It was so, the kids were just very excited about it. Certainly on the high school level, I'm sure even more so verbally enthusiastic on the elementary level. Our high school students can sometimes be, as I call, quietly excited, but I know it meant a lot. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the art teachers and the students who participated. And thank you so, so much.
And thank you, Ms. Sigmund. And I apologize. I did not see your raised hand on my screen, or I would have called on you.
Oh, no problem at all.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Brummett.
All right. I think we've had a full plate of honorees this evening. Thanks again, and congratulations to all honorees. I'm now going to put the PowerPoint back up there because it is time for public participation. So let me just get that up there in case we have any folks that want to participate from home.
Okay.
Right.
So I just want to remind everybody that this is public participation, and it's on any matter that is related to board responsibilities. And we are going to limit civil participation to 3 minutes. Okay, it looks like we have some people in. Ms. Carson.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you all? Start with my name and my address.
Please.
Hi, I'm Allison Campbell. I'm at 20 Valley View Drive in Newington. I want to thank you all for allowing me to address my concerns with you tonight. I come as a parent, obviously here in Newington, and I'm very concerned about the priorities of the administration currently and the direction that we're heading in. We all know our children lost an entire year of education, and I commend our teachers. I know they tried as hard as they could, but we know that missing an entire year virtually has put them behind. Their test scores are falling. Mental health is at an all-time low, socially, behaviorally, and they are still bound by these draconian COVID measures. With the future of our students at stake, rather than emphasizing, how are we going to make up for lost time? How are we restoring their finite childhood? The superintendent has chosen to email blast us consistently about getting our children vaccinated, where we can go to get vaccinated. We've decided whether or not we want this. We do not want to receive these emails any longer. We want emails about what's being done to restore our children's childhood, and are they receiving the highest quality of education? It's being made very clear through the correspondence to parents that Dr. Brummett, that's a doctor of education, I don't believe that's a doctor of epidemiology, feels comfortable giving medical advice and pushing this unauthorized gene therapy on our children. It's a very personal decision, And everyone, I'll stop there. The superintendent, I'll address that first, is being way too comfortable reaching inside this, the parents' homes and pushing this agenda. Only about 20% of parents in Connecticut have decided to vaccinate their 5 to 11-year-olds. They are well within their right to do so. But that being said, the vast majority of parents are not comfortable doing so at this time. We do not want to be pressured. We don't want to feel discriminated against. And I've also seen board members posting on social media, Facebook, encouraging parents to mask their children outside of school, to vaccinate their children outside of school. As taxpayers, we did not elect you to tell us how to parent our children. I will decide if and when to mask my child and if and when to vaccinate them. We have elected you to hold our education and our educators to the highest standards possible and to give a safe and equal learning environment. My takeaway point in all of this is that I would like to stop the focus on masks and vaccines. We don't want emails about them anymore. We want to catch our children up and we want to restore their childhood. They only get one. Thank you so much for your time and Merry Christmas.
Thank you for your comments. Merry Christmas. And Sarah Yeager.
Hello. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Sarah Yeager, and I'm from 54 East Robbins Avenue. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. I just wanted to quickly start off by saying congratulations to the newly appointed members, and thank you for being a part of the decision-making process for our children. I'm here tonight, along with Allison, to talk about masks and vaccine mandates. For some of you, this will be the first time you get to listen to me, and for others, it's not. I'm here mainly for parent choice. I'm against masking our children, but I believe in our Constitution and of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I believe that everyone has the right to choose what is best for them. I've sent numerous mask studies in an email correspondence months ago, and I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that was probably about 6 months ago, and yet here we are still continuing this. I would like to remind everyone that a mandate is not a law, so therefore no parents, students, or schools are actually breaking any laws by not enforcing the mask rules. I want to remind people that masks are a medical intervention and you're supposed to have informed consent to make medical decisions. And there was 0 informed consent given, only force. Wear the mask or you lose your right to a free and appropriate education. We're dealing with 2 years of coercion. As a special education teacher myself, I see the damage COVID has done on our children, and I'm not talking about the virus itself. Children have a 99.997% survival rate of the COVID virus. I'm talking about lockdowns, remote learning, quarantine, and masks. 93% of communication is nonverbal, and yet we're here going to crisis situations with students that have behavioral issues, and we have to de-escalate them while both wearing masks. And you can imagine how the situation's not helpful or comforting. Or maybe it's not even a crisis at all. Maybe it's the student during a phonics instruction that can't discriminate sounds because the masks lowered the voice by 7 decibels. You need to give parents the right to choose. The Department of Public Health are unelected officials. So this means that unelected officials are writing plans for schools, which I have to say the courts in Pennsylvania just recognize this as unconstitutional. And I can only hope that Connecticut follows suit, and I hope that's really soon. I also want to quickly point out how proud I am of the Ellington Board of Education for their letter to the Department of Health. Not only do the CIAC winter masking rules make 0 sense, like basketball has to wear masks, but wrestling don't, they're discriminating. And these policies are shameful, and I urge Newington to follow Ellington's lead. There is such a push for equity and inclusion, and it seems that this has gone out the window with COVID. On to the vaccine. I'm uncertain as to how many families know that their constitution—
30 seconds left, please.
That their right was taken away by Connecticut. I want to remind you that this vaccine is only emergency use approved. It's not approved for adults. emergency use vaccines should not even be in existence if there's other treatments, and there are, and there's many. And I just want to say that if you mandate this, there's going to be people that will pull their children out of school, including myself. So I'm running out of time, and I had more, but
okay. Well, thank you. Maybe you can join us next time.
I sure will. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and we're going to move on to Dana Havens.
Hi. Oh, let me take my camera on. Hi, Dana Havens, 113 Stoddard Avenue. Sorry, got a massive headache and I just lost my train of thought. I know. I want to speak towards this COVID thing too, but not like the previous speakers. I'm concerned. So far my kids have been in contact several times since it started. They've been able to, scan and stay, and thankfully we've had nothing. But if they did have to quarantine, the fact that they can't join in on their classes when we have such extreme technology in their schools and at home now, I think it's ridiculous. I know it would be difficult for the teacher if they had just one student at home to teach that student, but could they not at least just stream the class so the kids can listen in, and then if they have any questions, they can get answered later in the afternoon or even the next day. But I know both my children, if they miss school, they get a little panicky because in high school, especially if you miss one day, you miss a lot, especially if it's an odd or even day. So I was hoping that maybe you can consider doing something for the kids that have to stay home. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you very much, Ms. Havens. And we have next up Allie Lamont. If you could state your name and address, please.
Hi, it's actually Ryan Lamont, another profile glitch with Google. 33 Coachman Lane, and similar to what Dana just said, we're just curious what the real policy is with the district regarding children under quarantine orders. Our experience currently is that there is some teachers are posting assignments, but we're receiving no instruction, which seems to be giving students that are unlucky enough to have to quarantine a severe disadvantage. And I'm not sure if there's any way to catch up on instruction that they're missing, or it's just we have to try our best at home to keep up. And I'm sure some families are better able to do that than others, and that probably creates some equity issues as well. So that's all I had to state. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much, Mr. Lamont. Okay. If you don't mind, if you guys would take your hands down after you have completed. Appreciate that very much. It looks like there are no other people from the public that want to share at this time. I just want to address that we listened to everything that you say, and we will discuss that as a board. And if it's appropriate, somebody will be getting back to you as soon as possible. That is typically our policy to do that. Okay? So thank you all again very much. And now we're going to move our meeting on to item number D, which is our consent agenda. So this is the approval of our minutes from the meetings on October 13th, November 9th, and November 29th. So if I could either have the secretary or another member of the board move the motion to accept them, I would entertain it right now.
I move the motion to accept the minutes from October 13th, 2021, the regular session.
Second.
Sorry, Beth.
We got 3 of them. We can do all 3.
Okay, I approve. A motion to approve the minutes from November 9th, 2021, and a motion to approve the minutes from November 29th, 2021 board retreat.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so Ms. Weaver has given us the second. Any discussion on this item? Okay. And seeing none, I will move for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, we'll move on to item number E, which is the Superintendent of Schools report. And I'm going to turn it over once again to Dr. Brummett.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. It is my distinct pleasure to bring forward virtually Steve Farisi, our Assistant Superintendent, and Dr. Gerald Hairston, who is our Equity and Inclusion Specialist. They have been, they along with many other members of our central office team, and I think Kim Davis is on the line, and Wendy and Kristen Freeman have been on the front lines doing our equity work in Newington. And I'm also really proud to say that Newington and the board has decided to work on equity, not because we've had any major incidences in the district or any situations that have caused us to have to react, but rather we are dedicated to making sure all of our students have an equitable educational experience. That's part of our mission, and that's part of the work that we're doing. We do have an achievement gap that we're working on diligently, and that is one of our more pressing matters, but I'm proud that the board is supporting these efforts to make sure all of our students are getting what they need here at school, regardless of their economic status, racial status, and what have you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it right over to Dr. Hairston and Mr. Farisi.
So thank you, Dr. Brummett, Dr. Fletcher, and all Board of Education members for allowing us the opportunity to provide an update on our district-wide efforts to promote equity and equitable practices here in the Newington Public Schools. I am beyond fortunate to be accompanied by Dr. Gerald Hairston, our equity and inclusion specialist, as well as the great members of our team, Kristen Freeman, Wendy Krause, Kim Davis, who all work very hard to promote our equity efforts and lead us through this district work. Dr. Hairston specifically and I are excited this evening to be able to share with you an update on our equity infrastructure and systems that we are developing. As kind of the title implies, this is a general overview of the efforts that we're putting into place. We always ask that if you ever have any very specific questions following this presentation, to please reach out to either one of us, and we'd be more than happy to chat with you about our continuous efforts district-wide. But to begin, I was hopeful that everyone could just take a moment, if you do not already, and just kind of pull out a pen and a piece of paper. So I'll give you a second or two to do that. And when you are ready, if you could please just jot down what comes to mind immediately when you're asked this question. And I'll give you about 2 minutes to do this. So just jot down what immediately comes to your mind when asked this question. And that's for everyone on this line. I see there are 27 people. So let's see if we can all do this. How do you define equity in education? So I'll give 2 minutes for you to take a minute and jot that down. About 30 seconds left. All right, if you could just come to a close with your ideas. Two things I'd like to share. Number one, 2 minutes feels like an eternity when you're just sitting in silence. And number two, if you were able to get a comprehensive definition down of what equity means in Newington Public Schools in 2 minutes, I'm very impressed, and I'd love to get you on one of our teams. But I was wondering, and Dr. Fletcher, I'd love to solicit your support with this. I was hopeful that we could get a few people just to share some of the ideas that they put down. So I see some people are raising their hands, and if you're willing to raise a hand, that would be fantastic. If we could take about 3 or 4 people, and Dr. Fletcher, where I could use your help is it's hard for me to see and present at the same time. So maybe if you could call on a few people, that would be very helpful to me.
All right, let me begin with Ms. Droz.
Okay, it's not all inclusive because you only gave me 2 minutes, Mr. Parisi. But all students are given access to the content and meeting all students at their entry point, and the content represents all stakeholders in the classroom.
Thank you so much.
How'd I do?
I think I'll take that.
All right, Mr. Leverrier.
So to me, equity in education is the fairness in outcome versus equality, which is the fairness of opportunity. And I think a quote that does come to mind, though, is Bill Clinton, where he's talking about it's not where you end up, but it's how far you come from where you start.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Mr. Brenda.
So I put down creating an equal opportunity for students, creating academic fairness.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hutt-Wagner. You might be muted.
Yeah, got it. Similar to Ms. Droz, I said the ability for each student to access the curriculum and content and receive instruction without barriers in the way, but instead appropriate supports in place.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next up is Sam Sharma. Now, I got to ask Sam very quickly. Are you Dr. Sharma? I was told you might be a doctor.
No, I'm not.
All right.
All right. So the way I see it is like I see equity. What it means would be like equal access to same quality of education, no matter your background, income, or race.
Thank you so much.
All right, just a few more. We have Ms. Yop. Anastasia, you might be muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry, and you might hear my dog in the background. I apologize. Equity in education is when all students have access to similar resources and are treated the same. That's what I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms.
Maybe
Weaver.
just 2 more, Dr. Fletcher?
I got just 2 more.
Fantastic.
Do we have time?
We'll yes, of course.
All right.
Yeah, since we're all, this is like the class, it's just going around the board table, the virtual board table. I guess we'll do that. I guess mine will be redundant, but I think it's important that we, it's meeting students where they're at, each and every student at every level where they're at. And I always think of the images that are used, that we often use. It's more of a visual rather than words. And then also the idea of where everyone starts at different spots in a race.
And if I could, I'm going to very quickly share what I wrote down, maybe just a little bit of a different angle. It's everyone having an equal opportunity to access the necessary tools and to help receive a profitable education. And Ms. Parati.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thanks. I didn't want to be left out. So I said everyone getting the tools that they individually need to meet their goals, common goals.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So I think as we listen to each kind of individual perspective, we hear a lot of commonalities, a lot of themes that resonate throughout, and some differences too, right? And maybe some lens that we bring to what we would define equity to be, especially in education and maybe in the Newington Public Schools. One thing that we've done is engaged in multiple activities in multiple opportunities to continue to promote equity in the Newington Public Schools over the past few years. So as some of you may be aware, and maybe some of you newer board members have yet to kind of see, these are some of the ways in which we've engaged in equity currently. And when we do this work, we do it either in teams or in schools. So sometimes we've developed our understanding of cultural competency, whether that be as committees like our Professional Development and Evaluation Committee, and then in schools that's been shared out. And we've facilitated summer book clubs around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And many people have participated in those and some have not. We've participated in statewide diversity, education, equity, and inclusion networks, some of us. And we've created and hosted a culturally responsive teaching online learning module where educators who are going to write curriculum would engage in this learning module before they write curriculum to have an equity lens to apply to it. We've supported and participate in culturally responsive leadership development. We've administered an equity and inclusion survey to students and staff so we can garner and better understand what equity means to our students, what it means to our staff, and what practices are possibly coming across as equitable and which are not. We've redesigned focused district goals and our mission. Our mission statement was redesigned last spring and adopted and is now online, which includes a serious focus on equity. We've enacted policy revisions to include equity and greater inclusivity, which have been recently passed as early as this August. We've established a workforce diversity committee that's really working to analyze our recruitment, retention efforts among our workforce. And we've implemented courageous conversations about race book club district-wide to try to engage more people in understanding equity, specifically as it pertains to race. We've deliberately been pulling data apart by groups and trying to talk more about it and see how we can change some of the inequities that we see. And we've engaged in mastery-based practices, which we know help us close kind of the equity gap in our curriculum and instruction. So these are some of the efforts that we've engaged in. And what we've come to understand is through our efforts, while good, we lacked kind of a collaborative foundational understanding of equity. So this year, our greatest achievement to date has been the development of a working definition of equity in the Newington Public Schools, one that will ground all of us around the work and provide a foundation to support all of these efforts. Because like you all, we were all coming to this work previously with various definitions. And again, although we had common themes that ran through it, we might not have had that one definition to really ground everything we do, kind of something to really build a strong house on, a foundation. And so with that, we can share with you our working definition of equity. And this right here is what we believe it means in the Newington Public Schools. That educational equity means ensuring just outcomes for each student, raising marginalized voices, and addressing the imbalances of power and privilege. And that is adopted from Great School Partnerships. It's a little bit changed from a definition that they've promoted, but it's one that Dr. Hairston has worked very carefully with many stakeholder groups within our district to build out this definition and develop systems that will continue to drive and sustain this work. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Hairston.
How you all doing? If my voice starts to waver, it's because I've been talking all day. And so I sound a little bit like a bassist from an R&B group. So I apologize. That is not intentional. But just let me know if you can't access my voice. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. And again, I apologize. I don't mean to step on protocol if I'm asking for more engagement than is typical under this structure. But certainly if you have any questions about the definition, let me know. But, you know, I think it's probably best to not be remiss about, where my thinking in this work comes from. And this is not an attempt to proselytize anyone, believe what you believe or don't believe what you don't believe. My mother happens to be a minister, and my grandfather, who passed a year and a half ago, was a minister as well. So a faith tradition is what I come from. So you might hear certain ideas come from me that are things that they may have said, like, a house divided against itself cannot stand, or something like that. And so what I'm about in terms of equity is born of that upbringing, which is essentially unity, that takes work, that diversity is an intentional part of life and humanity, but it takes work to have it work in concert for purpose. And so that's the way that we tend to use this working definition, not to preclude any other existing definition, just like you all submitted definitions in 2 minutes, none necessarily better than the next, all having certain components in common. But we wanted to make sure that we had one voice, one unified voice that would organize us when we're talking about utilizing our resources, because our resources are finite. If COVID has taught us anything, it has taught us that, conditions don't last. But unification can, and doing things together can. And so we have figured out that that's going to be our grace moving forward, the extent to which we can unify around our resources toward a collective mission. So that means that we have to do some work to make ourselves get collected and aligned. One of the things that will do that is if we acknowledge that, I think it was said by 2 of the definitions, that there are certain ways that you can start out in education that can condition you more rapidly towards success. One of them is where you start out, how you start out. We know that if you have a further distance to travel and you only have a finite time to do so, it matters if you're further along in that journey than someone else who may start further back and not have enough time to catch up. So we know that our ability to reconcile distances between standards and where students start off relative to a standard isn't necessary, is our work. And we know that because students don't all start off in the same place, some are privileged because of the pace of things, because of what needs to be known, that they come with a lot of that. And so that's a privilege. It is also a privilege to be in a situation where you can identify very readily in terms of language or other components of identity that allow you to have a natural affiliation with someone who's teaching you. Teaching is a lot of things. It is deeply relational. And especially in times of duress, it is deeply intimate. And so the less hurdles that you have to climb to get to someone who's giving you something, to Dr. Fletcher's point, of value that will benefit you, the easier it is for you to move through that journey of learning over the course of 12 or so years. And for some students longer. So we want to make sure that we diminish as many of those hurdles as possible, because we know that students didn't ask for those hurdles to be erected, but they depend on us to make sure that the race can be lean and swift for them, and that the unnecessary barriers aren't there for them if we can do our best to help to support them. The power just is best recognized in the ability, like we saw today, for you to be able to show up and be counted. So from something as consequential as a card, to be able to see how you see the world in front of other people who have the ability to say, I see you and I affirm that. That's a powerful thing about how you see the world, to be recognized, that your vision is important to us. For someone to bring that to the fore and acknowledge that you have a contribution in the arts is powerful. That space doesn't have to exist. That's not everyone's scope of intentions. But for us to say that it matters to us expression, that it matters to us that expression isn't just the written word, nor is it story. It's just your perspective. That is a powerful thing, and we've created a power to give to students to show up. The other way that power can be is that you get the ability to sway something in your direction. So we know that we have to have parental engagement. That's not Gerald or Stephen. That's the research talks about how important it is to have parental and community engagement in the enterprise of schooling. It helps to make it more inclusive. The more we can gather assets from the families that we serve and the community that we serve, it helps us to understand how to shape instruction so that kids can take it, again, to Dr. Fletcher's point, and do something with the information in where they live and how they live. It's highly contextual. So in order to do that, we have a real intention to be proactive in terms of the capacity that we establish. And in being proactive, we want to create a wide base of capacities among staff so that we are readied as we increasingly become diverse and kind of live in this moment. Whether it be COVID or our current profile as a district, we want to be able and at the ready to be able to not just deal with what comes, but maximize what we have. That's a broad base of capacity. It comes in terms of teaching and learning, but also custodial work, but also and also secretarial and administrative support. So we want everyone to be at the ready to receive their sort of work in equity well. But we also want to make sure that as much as that in itself is a work and a journey and process, where we fall down, we want to be responsive, not reactive. So as we build a stable platform for everyone to participate, we also want to make sure that as we venture along in that journey of creating stability, that when things do fall short, we have an ability to erect a system around an individual, a group of individuals who have a need and support them so that they can stay in the journey. So responsiveness and proactivity are really our linchpins in terms of the culture that we want to build for equity. I don't want to take a ton of time, and I'll try to not read to readers, but let me just ask you to just kind of gaze over the visual here. And as much as you're probably already tired of hearing my voice, let me see if I can just summarize some of what you might be looking at. So our entire network is really based in two key areas. One is what educators do and are capable of influencing relative to the essentials of their role and leadership. What school leaders and district leaders can influence in terms of equity relative to their role and what they're faced with every day in terms of tasks and charges. So on the educator side, we've organized a group of 12 educators or 10 educators. I would be the 11th to talk about some of the things that are bubbling up amongst teachers as they try to engage in really excellent and equitable education. What can happen is data can be a way that we can access our progress toward our outcomes. And so it also helps us know that what we need isn't necessarily it isn't available, or what we need to know is or is not at the ready. And data, we use data to tell us a lot about ourselves through what our students are achieving. And so the equity team's work is going to be centered on that, to make sure that we are progress monitoring. We're monitoring the ways in which we're moving forward towards our success in terms of student performance. So Achievement Gap, is a broad umbrella, and it encapsulates various kinds of student performance. But, some of the key ones would be behavior, performance, so pro-social behavior skills. Another area is scholastic or academic performance, benchmark qualifiers, how students do in terms of, grades and assessments. And then social emotional development. So it's one thing to be able to exist in a space socially and know how to do school. It's another to know how to get an A, especially if you're close to it already. It's another thing to do so with a safe mindset intact over the course of years of instruction. So we want to make sure that we're securing all three, and that has to come through healthy educators as well. So we're thinking about how to, again, create that broad base of capacity and readiness in our educators, and who better to do that than educators themselves. So that's what that group works on, the readiness and health of a thriving educator base. Our focus areas at this point, relative to, again, our goal of equity, that first one says race, ethnic, and cultural linguistic diversity learning. So we are, Newington is, like other sectors in Connecticut, increasingly diverse. And so we want to know what does diverse mean? Does diversity, as I alluded to earlier, ultimately equal immediately unity? It does not. It takes work. And so we want people to be equipped with all of the current understandings of what happens when you put different people together in an educational milieu. What are some of the things that we need to know about how to create access, how to create pedagogy, how to inform instruction, how to utilize our resources effectively based on what those diverse needs might be. That gestalt of information, we know, can be focused down into any one of those areas. There are cultural needs, there are racial needs, there are racial conversations, cultural conversations. And we want to have as ready and solid a grasp as we can around each one of those features of how diversity might show up for us. Family and community networks. I won't belabor the point, but we are working diligently to make sure that we are locked in with families, giving them really purposeful opportunities to connect with us and inform what Stephen talked about in some of the pre-existing work, some policies that we do, some leadership opportunities, and making sure that we have the impact really secured in terms of home. We want we sort of imagine school to be a continuous experience, that what we have in terms of an 8 to 9 hour time period between teachers and educators and students is really an extension of what parents hope for their child at home. So we want to make sure that whatever we do in terms of establishing a readiness to participate in your home and community environment, whether it's 8 or 18, is contiguous to the extent possible with what you hope at home. We want math to be applicable. We want ELA to be applicable to the broader environment of Newington, but also to Connecticut and to the world. So we do our level best to make sure that we're pulling parent expectations, parent ideologies into as it fits appropriately to our standards-based work. Book clubs. There are many ways that people can engage in the development process toward a more equitable you, to more equitable instruction, equitable mindset. One low stakes way is to engage people in learning communities together. What we believe is that no one can do any great thing alone. And since we're always already in community, we want to make sure that we're a house unified, not divided. And our best way to do that is to secure folks into small learning communities. PLCs, professional learning communities, is one way, but we want to make sure that people are supported to take risks in their learning and not be perfect, but to be on a path so that they can receive a measure of grace from their colleagues as they make mistakes and venture and try to reconcile what they knew with what they know with what they're going to know. And that takes an incredible amount of grace, especially when you're working alongside people who are maybe at a different place in the journey. We try to diminish pride and use more again, grace and also empathy, so that we can make our mistakes together and they don't feel problematic, but they feel like an opportunity to learn. So while we're doing some of this work, we're doing a lot of culture building, that we're reframing some of the ideas about what had been language that might have been a detriment previously, and we're trying to use it to our advantage now. One of those is failing. We want to make sure that failure is an opportunity. My wife is a researcher. I dabble in the sciences myself. And so I want to make sure that we understand that failure is a part of growth. It's in fact tells you where you are. It's a measure. And so we want to make sure that that's okay, purposefully okay. The last area under educator work is our pipeline development. So we want, as much as you all, we had 2 people, I think, who said that they came from E-Green, and we're very proud about that. So we want to make sure that Newington is developing its internal diversity using the students that come from Newington Public Schools. We want to hold you as long as possible because as it showed, and this is also just out there understood and known, but you demonstrated it. It's nice to be able to come back and see yourself in what you went through. And so we would like to increase our diversity purposely, not from pulling from other regions necessarily, but have our students who have come through Newington Public Schools build a love for their experience here, a love for the community, and come back pulling instruction from that loving place. So that's what we want to do. That's how we want to diversify. We don't just want to increase numbers. We want to have early access programs that we're talking about with the university to try to get them to try to institute some curriculum that will allow us to get students to understand what teaching looks like as a career, but also extracurricular opportunities that might get them to talk about some of the challenges that they might host in terms of trying to engage in that process. So we really want a true grow your own, as much as we want to cultivate the diversity that we already have. So we're also going to encourage folks to get in community together there as well, around their affinity as folks who might come from non-dominant or non-traditional communities into education, some by race, some by culture. And we want to create affinities around those things, and so that we can understand how equity can be also a presentation of our staff in terms of our diversity. On the admin side, just 2 quick notes. one of our major work is to have a small group of administrators be able to inform some of our major leverage points for change. So as much as educators might be venturing into these zones of sort of capacity building and pedagogical structures, we want to make sure that we've got some opportunities around them to give that some coordination so that educators can learn together and be together. But that structure typically doesn't come from educators themselves. That comes from administration, creating a culture that allows for that to happen. So our two primary points of culture and structure are PLCs and data teams. Now, the reference to just to the left of PLCs in the box under admin council is school improvement team, and you'll see safe school climate just under data teams, but they're really iterations of the same. That top equity council is primarily going to be utilized and is being utilized to develop really solid what are called problems of practice, which is if you can take a data set and your knowledge of a school culture and your understanding of an educator and their students, you can form a really rounded idea about what causes something to happen that is desired or isn't desired in terms of an outcome. And the problem of practice is really how you frame the thing that isn't desired and your resolution to a different end. But you need data to give you some evidence as to how you've come to the conclusion that something's wrong. You need a very clear, finite statement about what's wrong and what needs to be different. You need to understand what capacity you have in the educator, what capacity is needed and necessary, what support gets it there, and what will look different in terms of student performance. Again, having a fully fleshed out problem of practice that's situated in academic performance, behavior performance, and social emotional development, that's our aim. But we have some educators who have seen and done that kind of work. And right now we're coalescing around how to make sure that their skill sets and abilities around forming really solid problems of practice is diffuse amongst our leadership community. The PLCs, I'll actually start with data teams. Data teams would be one of the best ways for you to take problems of practice at a very macro level and understand how the district is doing thematically. So an example is third grade performance in ELA across all third grades at the elementary level is a macro outcome. A problem of practice would look at that performance across that grade level across the district. But again, that's macro. That's not as situational or contextual as it would be as ELA at E Green. But we know that that's necessary because we want to understand how the district has created a situation or a culture where equity can thrive or where we can achieve inequity out of an inequitable situation. The PLCs are a more contextual version of that because we do need ways that teachers can respond more quickly and that systems can respond more quickly to what's happening in a particular situation, a particular school. So that gives us, that's a more sensitive aspect of the data teams, doing a lot of the same work in terms of creating instruction and approaches from data and information. But again, it does it at a more local level. So what we would hope is that both of those spheres of decision-making, a PLC that's more localized and a data team that's more macro, have the ability to be nimble, but also be operating within the boundary of efficacy based on the evidence that we have. That's a capacity to be built and systematized, but that is that side of the system. Just like the other side of the system is around what we do within the systems that we create as leaders. I'm going to shut up. I don't know if structurally it's intended to ask questions, but I feel like it's necessary perhaps.
Are there any board members that would have any questions for Dr. Harrison right now? Go ahead, Ms. Hutt-Wagner.
Hi, thank you so much for that presentation. I know, I believe it was either you or Mr. Freese mentioned the survey that was being done. I think it was done with parents and students. And I just wanted to see if that went out yet this year and if it's like something that will happen multiple times a year or just once a year and kind of what's done with that data. Because I think that's really interesting.
So I don't mind fielding that, Dr. Harrison, and then if you want to add on, please do. So last year we did administer an equity survey to students and to staff. The annual survey that goes to families did include a couple questions in it, so we expanded upon that a little bit to have some questions around equity, inclusion, and diversity. However, you know, the two true surveys that were brand new went to students and staff. That data was culled, and a lot of it was presented to the strategic plan in committee in May of last year. And a lot of that information then drove not only this work that Dr. Hairston has shared with you, but also some efforts that occurred from that meeting last May, which would be changes and improvements in our mission, in our goals, in our district improvement plan, as well as it drove some policy changes that occurred that the board passed in August. So we do continue to use that information to help guide us. It will be administered again this year, later, probably the beginning of spring, and it will be administered annually around that time.
Okay, and Mr. Branda.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. First of all, to the entire team, I can't really express just how grateful I am for this work. I think, Dr. Hairston, despite your voice troubles, I could probably listen to you speak on this for several hours at a time. So please never apologize for that. I have something just to bring up, and it falls in equity and accountability in this slide, but not entirely. But I don't know another time to bring it up. And just for reference, a few weeks ago, I asked Dr. Brummett and Dr. Fletcher if maybe due to all of the work that you and Steve and Kim are working on, could we create a board committee that reviewed the things that we have the power on, so specifically our policies, to see where are our gaps in our own policies in terms of equity and inclusion. And so I preface that by saying, for those new board members that don't know, I'm a dad of 2 daughters, and my oldest is actually working on a school project at John Wallace about policy changes in schools. And one of them that she and her friends have brought up is the dress code. And what I have found interesting, and it's through listening to you, Dr. Hairston, at the beginning of the year, and now my own lens as a dad of 2 girls, is that I don't think our dress code is very equitable, to be honest with you. Reviewing it, it was created in 2001. I don't think many people, I mean, Jessica Weaver just talked about she was in elementary school in 2004 or whatever she said. So we're way back in our dress code policy. And I think, I think it would be great if we could allow, obviously, this important work that you're doing, Dr. Hairston, and it looks like you've got a great team, but maybe if the board has their own group that looks at certain topics or policies and sees how we can fit in, because I do think specifically on the dress code, I think that it could make female students in particular feel very marginalized at times. And I think that there's a lot that we can do as a board to kind of clean up the language in there and make everybody feel a little bit more, I guess, included in their school community by not being, attacked by what they're wearing because maybe somebody doesn't find that it is acceptable. Of course, with certain boundaries, but I think we're all on the same page there. So I'm hoping we can have that discussion at some point, or maybe start a committee, Dr. Fletcher, to look at some of that stuff. And maybe if Dr. Hairston's able to help us out in his huge spare time that I'm sure he has, but it would just be something, maybe we could work with the building administrators, and ideally some of our high school student leaders perhaps could help us on that to just make sure that we're doing what we can to have policies that are equitable, and especially things that impact our students and their day-to-day inside our schools. But overall, honestly, I love this work. I think that I'm lucky enough to have seen the kind of early stages of where we were going, and where we are now is just so impressive. And I'm so thankful to just be able to watch it from this seat. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. Yes, Dr. Brummett and I will discuss that in our next opportunity. I think it's a great idea. All right, next up is Ms. Drost.
Okay. First of all, I agree that we need to talk about that, but I do think it falls under, hold on, I got to unraise my hand, under the student policy and the board policy. It's almost like an umbrella of that policy committee. In addition to that, can you share, because it's really hard to see on the screen. I know you're making it bigger. Thank you. I appreciate that. I had asked for something that Mr. Freese, no, who was it? I don't remember. I had asked for the presentation ahead of time that Mr. Freese had sent and showed at some conference. It would just be good to be able to read it so I can really get my head around it. So at some point, if that can be shared, that would be appreciated.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Yop.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your presentation. I have a question to Gerald in regards to the early access program. You said you were working with the university. Which university were you working with?
UConn.
Okay, was my only question.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Weaver.
Well, first off, yeah, I'll echo Mr. Brandon's sentiments. Thank you for all the effort that you're putting in. I'm really excited about this work. And I really appreciate, especially as a data geek, I do appreciate that. And I think, a lot of times, Dr. Burma alluded to this at our board retreat as well, how data is, it's a funny thing because it can always say one thing and not really tell the true story or tell a different story than what's actually happening. And I think it's really important that we focus on the segregation of our data. I think it's really, really important. And I appreciate this schematic because it gives us a real sense of how entrenched this work is and what that effort is going. And I think, yeah, Mr. Brandon bringing that up is a great point. I personally have been subject to that dress code and ways that, it was kind of traumatic. But, I think in that space too, I think like there are things a lot of students have come up to me and talked about, I'm not sure where it falls under too, but, our LGBTQ plus AA students, having their say in how, things like mental and sexual education health, how we're using pronoun education. I think a lot of students have come up to me, particularly in the past year, and, we're wanting to talk about that kind of issue. And I think, sometimes with these types of issues, we're always wondering where it falls and who could be responsible for that change or for that kind of education, because I think it falls under book clubs, it falls under the pipeline, it falls under everything, I think. So, it's one of those things where it's just one point of equity, but we're looking at so many different things. So I appreciate this as I think we're all just kind of soaking it in. That's why there's not as many questions now, but I think, because it is a lot, so we appreciate that work. But I guess if you can speak to any of that, kind of where this is headed, in terms of, does this change, what teachers are looking at when they're creating curriculum and that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Weaver. And we have Ms. Parati.
Sorry, having issues. Did you want to respond to any of Jessica's questions first, or?
I'll try. I was just going to ask, could you restate the question one more time? I know it was in there, but I just want to make sure.
As you said a lot, also then said a lot and was like, there's a question in here. Let me articulate it. I guess in terms of, as we look at equity, and different topics under this umbrella, I guess I'm kind of looking for what's the implementation timeline and kind of where that falls. What's the time horizon we're looking at, and kind of who is ultimately, I think you're the point of accountability, but where is that falling into a bucket? If I use LGBTQ plus IA issues as an example, is that across buckets, or are you the point person, where that accountability falls? So time and point of accountability.
It's a pretty amazing question. I may not have a pretty good answer, but I'm going to try. So the thing that you're looking at is a arrangement of ways to detect something. So imagine it's a science, it's like a lab. So you'd have multiple ways to identify the variations on a kind of cancer. One way is that you could excise cells, and you could look at the way that the cells formulate, under what conditions do they prosper. But that's only if the cell exists already. Another way scientifically you could look at it is pre-existing conditions, like what kinds of things cause the body to generate the proclivity to, the formation of a cancerous body. But that would be like at the progenitor stage, like at the beginning of it. Another way would be like sort of once cancer has metastasized or not, how do you start to make it regress? Looking at different kinds of therapeutics. But this is an entire lab spread across a network, which for our terminology is a school system, so that you can detect all kinds of inequities. But what you need, first of all, is the lab. You need a way to measure it. And so your point about data is, so any of this is accessible. So what we'd want to know is, relative to our performance that tends to pipe up in the ways that we collect data, grades, mid-year reports, finals, that's our enterprise, is to make sure that kids are actually achieving academically. But before that, you can collect all kinds of situational data that will tell you that you're on the way to failure or success. So we can infuse measures that will tell us, is your identity a factor in the way that you are achieving effectively social emotional well-being, behavioral health, academic health? Right now, we just had to establish a system, but in terms of what will come is that sensitivity to different kinds of indicators that will tell us your health in this system. One of them will be your identity health around your sexual orientation or sexual identity, or gender identity, rather.
As the daughter of a biologist, that was very helpful.
Did it help? I hope it helped. Thank you. Did that make sense? Did it help?
Yes, 100%.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your question.
All right, thank you. And before I do another false start, are you all set?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher.
Thank you. I also had similar questions to Jessica, so I'm glad that you were able to answer that as well. I'm just, you don't have to name names, but the equity team and the admin equity council, were those volunteers or were they assigned? I'm just curious how the teams are put together.
So my other brain is a coach, particularly football. So we went on a recruiting visit. So it was essentially, I met with Stephen to talk about virtues of a successful system in terms of personhood. So what characteristics do people need to bring to it? One is data intuition. Another is diagnostic capacity. Another is underlying equity understanding. Another is, pedagogical knowledge and capacity. Another is systemic understanding systems and systems change. So we organized that, and we talked about educators ways that educators could demonstrate those capacities. That led us to a list of names, and then I went out and recruited those folks. I sat with them and talked about the work that we would do, how they envisioned the work, and whether or not they saw alignment, just like we would a safety or a cornerback or a swimmer. And we gave them the sell. We need your work. We need your brain. And they all said yes.
Okay, thank you. And we will come back to Ms. Yop here. You have another question or comment?
Question. Hi. This was in regards to Michael, Brenda, and Jessica in regards to dress code. You guys know I'm relatively new. So I was wondering, did that fall under the Student Policy Committee before? I was just asking.
Sorry, if you don't mind. It would, yeah. So normally that it would, but that policy, my understanding is it was written in 2001, and then different schools can adapt or adjust the policy how they would like. So, for my liking, to Miss Draw's point, yes, I would like the Student Policy Committee to maybe discuss implementing, but I'm thinking maybe we need to bring a group of externals, either through building administrators, high school students, maybe middle school, and then maybe some board reps to kind of look at that language and look at other policies and then make our recommendations to the student policy for implementation, just so that we have, because the student policy committee will have a ton of other things to kind of go over. So I was just looking to maybe shift to have a little bit of an equity and inclusion mindset on a specific committee for policy. But yes, my understanding is that would be a policy decision that this board would then approve based on recommendations from student.
Okay. So I don't see any more hands up and any more questions. I want to close out this part of question asking right now. We still have a long agenda ahead of us. So Dr. Hairston, if you want to wrap up, say anything more.
Just thank you all. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Mr. Farisi, thank you all. Did you have something more to say, Mr. Farisi?
I am all set and just wanted to thank everyone as well, and always Dr. Brummett for supporting us in this work.
All right. And thank you all so very much. Okay, so now we are going to move on to item F in the agenda. And the first thing will be our report from the Facilities Committee. So Mr. Leverrier, if you are prepared to bring that report.
Hi, good evening. So a couple of things. I was just looking over the proposed recommended motion. I don't think that it's ripe to make that motion that was recommended. I want to talk about just very briefly. If you were to look at the facilities report, page 6 and 9, Patterson Elementary, there's two separate line item costs that are like widely just out of control. Two differences. They almost balance out. Way too much going on there. I think it needs a closer look. If you were to look at priority 3 on page 9 of 9, I think that the proposed, granted, it is a lower priority item. I think that the cost proposed there is much, much, much too high. I think that we should look at potentially doing one field. I do recognize that there's a benefit from turf there, but like, you know, that's a lot of money. And with on page 5 of 9, I think that there's conversation that maybe we need to have as a board going over the tuition receipts, because we are getting more, significantly more money the last 2 completed school years. I'd be interested in getting more information about what the trends that we can expect for potential additional revenue if that trend continues, but also at the same time any potential costs that may need to come with hiring teachers with new students coming in. Lastly, one thing.
Question, like what are you looking at?
The
just so the public knows, because there's
this document.
We know what you discussed during the meeting.
This document,
which is the
facilities. It was in the packet, the handout for tonight.
No, just so people in the public.
Oh yeah, Board of Ed Facilities Standing Committee meeting, December 14, 21.
And it's the CIP.
Yeah.
2022, 2020.
Are you discussing the revised version?
Okay, hold on, everybody.
Yeah, let me just finish.
So let him finish, and do not address each other directly, please. You have to direct the chair during the meeting.
Apologies, I just didn't know what he was looking at.
No, that's fine. We're not going to go out of order anymore here.
Sure. And one thing that I would like to maybe see addressed before making a recommendation is potentially lighting at Wallace parking lot. It's pretty dark there. I think we could use some more lighting there. That's all I got. Ms. Drozd was also present. If she has anything, I would maybe defer to her.
Okay, Dr. Brummett. You're muted, Dr. Brummett.
Sorry. I didn't know if Ms. Drozd wanted to jump in before I did, because she was present last evening.
Yeah. You're muted, Ms. Drozd.
Dr.
Well, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Yeah, she's having some audio difficulties, I think.
Can you hear me now? Now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So we had a really good conversation last night, and we did discuss those things. So I know that Dr. Brummett and Mr. Giacomowitz were very accommodating in giving us some updated information on a pretty short notice. So, but we did have a lot of conversations. Everyone was very open about the conversation, and we talked about all those things that Richard just discussed.
Okay. So Dr. Brummett.
Thank you. And for the good of the folks that are on the public call here, let me put up this document. Let me make sure I'm presenting here. I don't think I am, actually. Give me 1 second. I was glad to hear that Mr. Laverriere believes that it's a little too soon maybe to put forward a motion to vote on the plan. I think that's a fair suggestion, because I do believe there's more information that we need to discuss. I understood I don't recall questions about the John Patterson facts and figures last evening, so we'll need a little more information about that. But I did want to draw the board's attention to 2 items that we were asked to do some follow-up. One is on this page. Ms. Rose did ask if we could look at maybe some different scenarios here, and I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Giacomowitz momentarily. The committee also, and what this page is simply our current utilization of the capital monies within the board CIP account. So we were asked last night to look at a different configuration. We have some discussion points for that, yet we don't have charts. The other thing that the board will ultimately have to vote on is the transmission of the 5-year town CIP plan to the town for their consideration and potential approval. So that was another large discussion item last evening. Now, we were asked to do some follow-up on that. One was, what are the expenses that are included in this $904,000 technology line? And that includes grades K, 5, and 9 Chromebooks, because every year that cohort of students, as they age into that or come into our system, they are given a Chromebook for the first time, and then they use that Chromebook. In the case of kindergarten, they use it through the end of elementary. Students use it 5 to 8 in middle, and then high school students use it for 4 years. That line item also included iPads for special education students. The laptops are for both middle school and elementary school teachers. And the desktops that were referenced in that total referred to replacement cycle for 2 art labs at the high school. While we're limiting the number of computer labs we have district-wide, there are labs that still need to continue on at the high school because they have very highly specialized software for art programs, and engineering has their own. But we're talking about the next cycle 2 art labs. And then infrastructure would be things like replacing our display panels throughout the district. We're going to do those in rolling amounts to make sure our display panels stay current. Those have a longer life cycle than other things, other computer items, but nevertheless, we do have a replacement component on that. And then there are also included in that $904,000 document cameras, which are used to project items that teachers use them a lot in the classroom. So the other question that we were posed last night is, what is the balance in the insurance fund? We collect fees from parents. It's optional, but parents have the option to send in a fee to help ensure that if for some reason their child inadvertently damages a Chromebook, that they can get it replaced or repaired with no additional charges. That account currently has $181,000 in it. So it has built up to a pretty good amount. So there is the question that was posed last evening by the committee was, would there be money in that account that we could apply toward this $904,000? Given that large balance, we could recommend that we take $100,000 out of that and use that to pay for the warranties that we have to buy with all of our Chromebook purchases. They don't really come with a lot of warranties, so we have to buy a warranty that allows them to continue to be protected for the number of years. I believe it's a 3-year warranty, but that's an additional charge. So again, that's something that the board would need to consider. I do want to state too, and it came up last evening, but the whole board should hear this. We really don't have a home for our technology purchases right now. They had lived in this CIP plan for many, many years. About 2 years ago, there was a discussion at a CIP committee that no longer exists, that it should not live here because it doesn't have the requisite life cycle and thresholds. I believe that that's something we could take issue with, because while the most we have laptops or Chromebooks in active service is about 5 years, depending on the grade level, they still live on in the district they go to, and this was discussed last evening, but back to technology headquarters, and then they're used as replacement devices, and then we harvest parts out of them. So they do live on for 7 years, which is the threshold for this line. However, that decision has already been made. So we have approached, by we, I mean Dr. Fletcher and I have approached the town manager as well as the mayor about where can we go from here about technology, because for the last 2 years, we have received no money from the CIP for technology and no money in the operating budget. So, you know, at this point, we are still hoping to meet with the mayor. The town manager didn't feel the need to meet with us at this time. We're hoping to meet with the mayor next, I believe it's next Tuesday, the 21st, to discuss, you know, where do we go from here with technology. Lou I'm going to turn it over to Lou momentarily to see where he can address some of the possibilities there. But again, ultimately, the board will be voting on this, as well as how the board CIP would be projected in the coming fiscal year. So I will go back to the main screen here. It looks like there may be some questions. Dr. Fletcher, I'll turn it over to you to field the questions. I know Lou will have some additional remarks about questions were asked about turf, and questions were asked about, again, looking at a different arrangement for the board CIP.
Okay.
Dr. Fletcher?
All right, thank you. It looks like Michael Branda, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. Dr. Fletcher, I know we were going to kick it over to Lou, so I wanted to get this in beforehand and hope that Lou can help out, because I know we have several new board members that it might be helpful before you dive into specifics to just give like a Cliff Notes version, perhaps, of public school, reserve CIP, the town CIP, and the comparison to the operating budget in terms of how each one is funded, because I think as we have these conversations, that might be helpful for some of our newer board members to get a better understanding of these dollars and these projects.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Brummett, I think that you would be better at addressing that than I would.
Yes. I mean, we did go over that last evening, but I think for the good of the order, I will ask Lou to speak to that issue as well, kind of differentiate between the different pots of money that go into the CIP account process. So I don't know if we want to entertain Ms. question.
We got one more question. Well, actually two. If we can try to keep them as short as possible so that we can get this presentation, maybe some of these questions are going to be answered. But I will give you, Ms. Yop, I'll give you an opportunity.
Hello, I just have a question. And you know, I'm relatively new. So I keep hearing about the technology fund that's wanted. And I'm hearing you say that, you know, they're not giving you any money. Was this something that the board decided on? Did the board say we wanted a technology fund, or are you saying, because I know you said you have a meeting with the mayor, so did you just decide to create this, or was this something that was already presented to the board before?
Well, I'll answer your question. We're not going to create it, Dr. Brummett and I. We're going to get information pertaining to it. It will be up to us as a full board to determine the direction that we take after we get this information. So our meeting is basically informational.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Ms. Weaver.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, I didn't know if we wanted to put this back into the last item, maybe, because our student reps haven't given their report. I don't know if this is falling under our new business facilities report, or we want to put it under line item D. Just not a point of order, but just wondering if we want to put that under, just because it's a long way. Anyway, I just didn't know if this fell under last night's committee meeting, or where we'll be going over the same stuff in our item F, new business stuff. So,
Well, this all pertains to a line item F at this point.
Okay, I just didn't know if we were,
right,
the rules of order, if we're going to item 6 or not. No one's gonna get a turn.
Okay. Well, we're talking facilities, so if we can keep it focused on that, related to that, I believe that's what Mr. Jacomowitz is about to do here. So,
okay. All right, if I could ask Dr. Brumman to just allow me to take the screen for a minute. When you ask for the Clip Note version, I have a little graphic that really illustrates this. That's be very simple and beneficial for everybody to get a quick look at. So let me.
It's all yours, Mr. Jacomowitz.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see a graphic with green, beige, and yellow boxes on it? Is that visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the Cliff Notes package right here. Very simplistically, the Board of Ed will generate requests which are completely appropriate for the operating budget for supporting daily operations, but as well as they'll have capital repair requests that could go to different places depending on the arrangements and financial facilities that are provided for the Board of Ed. In this illustration, this is the current setup that there is between the town and the Board of Ed. So on our side, we have 2 places for requests to go that are under board jurisdiction, board control for decision making. And the town CIP program is the third option. But there are 3 subsets to that for where money can be allocated based on the financial decision-making and planning that the town chooses to use. So I'll start on the town side first with the green boxes, where the basic landscape of that is anything requested has to be 25,000 7-year useful life. And you have a portion of those that are pay-as-you-go projects, which mean they're funded each and every year in total by the town as part of their budget adoption. You will have the technology reserve, which is not accessible to the Board of Ed. That's only for town departments to acquire equipment and technology devices that fit their long-term planning, so they are able to do more equalized budgeting year after year. So if they put aside $300,000 year after year for technology, the year they have a $250,000 expenditure is offset by the year they have a $350,000 expenditure. So they have that mechanism that's in place for them to draw on for continuity of operation. And then you have the third part, which is bonded projects, where it goes to town referendum. There's long-term financial decisions as far as the bonded indebtedness the town wants to take on for different projects and different long-term planning. And all of that is strictly the jurisdiction of the town. When it comes to the board discretion, obviously everything going through your board operating budget is completely on the decision-making purview of the board. So even if when the town gives the board a cut or an adjustment in their budget at final adoption, all the town has the authority to do is just say what the adjustment is, either up or down. It then goes back to the Board of Ed to make the final adjustments to balance to whatever the town authorizes. So if you have a $50,000 gap between what the board requested and what the town authorized, the board has that final responsibility to reconcile that as they finalize a budget cycle. The board CIP account is something that was generated as an ordinance probably 45 years ago, where school operations would tend to generate some revenues in the course of the year. You would have building use fees for private organizations using the buildings. you would have tuition payments made from families and parents who had kids in school. Many of those were from families who would move out of town mid-year, but they wanted their student to finish that year's education in the Newington school system. So they pay tuition for the remainder of the year. But most prevalent in the last 5 to 6 years, 6 years has been the substantial tuition generated through the Open Choice program for reimbursement to the town for special education expenditures provided to the Open Choice students coming here. So that is settled up, in May and June, early part of June, they will reconcile out exactly what the total cost of that placement support is across all the kids in Open Choice and bill the city of Hartford for it. The revenue receipt of that will either be right at the tail end of June or it'll roll over into July. And over the last 3 or maybe 4 years ago, we were clipping along about $250,000 a year for that type of combined tuition and special ed reimbursement. But in the last few years, it's really exploded. We've taken on a substantially greater portion of tuition or of special education support on behalf of the Open Choice program. And this is the location where those revenues, when they're received, are deposited into. So they all go into the board CIP account. The key factor that we have to keep in mind is the board CIP account has a cap of $1,200,000 on it. And as our revenue base grows in this area, we tend to have to turn around projects in a much faster fashion. Otherwise, we'll be over the cap. Now, if we don't have the ability to save 2 or 3 years worth of revenues to put it all together in a really big project, we are, because the rules of the plan were established years ago, it was meant more to be an annual supplement to what the budget is for the district. So it tends to be very flexible and nimble as our decision-making and the needs of the district are changed even from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So that's kind of the cliff notes. I hope I didn't take too much time on that, but is this visual comfortable for everybody that's here? Okay. Certainly I can make this available next time. This is just part of a working document I had here, but it was right on point for your request. Okay.
Very good. Right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So question number 2, and I've lost track. I can't remember the question right before I went over to present this. I'll give the screen back for starters.
I know you were going to still address, Lou, the carryover questions from last night about.
That's right. Okay.
Fields and turf, and also the different possible scenarios with the board CIP.
Okay, right. So there are 3 questions that were posed to the from the committee last night to us to go and research. The first of those was an inquiry about the combination of the value of a turf field, the relative cost of operations, and there's also questions about drainage of our athletic fields and how that would be part of a turf field, situation. So I was in contact with Bill DeMeo, who's our Park and Recreations Director, this morning, reviewing these questions. And I also went and reviewed our architectural drawing archive to pull the drawings for when the fields were built and what the design was for drainage that was there and what might change if a turf field was ever installed. So starting with the benefits of the turf field, are number 1 is the extended use. You do have something that will not get tired, not get beat up, not turn into mud after a couple of uses, and can be just used continuously to maximize the practice resources for the teams, extended seasons based on just really having no snow on the turf fields, and general playability of the field compared to grass or mud or just poor conditions that happen in the spring and the late fall that are here. Mr. DeMeo did not have specific cost numbers available for this type of analysis today, but basically he said, you know, the maintenance costs on the turf field are definitely less every year. However, you have a much higher initial investment. So on balance, he really viewed it as kind of a cost push, that the money you invest up front, you get back in future reduced maintenance costs. But over the term of the life of a field of 10 to 12 years, it probably would break out even. But your real big benefit is the play time that you get, that you've quintupled the access to that field for the benefit of all the teams, athletes, and just general community members who might have occasion to use it. The other benefits are, you know, on the practice fields, if you're able to even move some practices to the turf field, you beat up the other fields less. In general, everything stays in better condition on the grass because there's fewer events going on day-to-day hard practices that are there. And then Mr. DeMeo also pointed out that as of right now, our baseball, softball, and lacrosse teams in March and April are using Clem Lemire for their practices and early season activities. That would really not be possible until mid-April, when weather conditions would be, you know, much more favorable to, you know, start really using the outdoor grass fields at any, you know, recurring level. So those were the key points that he made to me. As far as on the field drainage, you know, I analyzed two specific areas because I wasn't really exactly sure which where the question was posed, if it was to Alumni Field or to the soccer fields that were there. So over at the soccer fields, when they were rebuilt in 1988, there is a drainage system that is immediately in between each of the four fields that are there. So there's 3 individual drains that are common to the fields there on either side, as well as a final drainage system right along the fence line where the parking lot is at the front of Newington High School, which is called the student parking lot. The general slope of the whole area, as you can tell when you drive up Veterans Drive, there's a gentle grade to it going up the hill. So that also helps create the crowns and the runoff so that the water can be dispersed to the overall storm drainage system and keep the fields playable as possible. So it does have drainage on all 4 sides of all 4 fields that are there. Okay. On the football field, those who've been up there, the actual grass field sits inside the track that surrounds Alumni Field. And there is a drain system immediately along the inside rim of that track, which services both the track and the football field. The football field itself is crowned off, where if you're standing at one of the sidelines, you could see that it goes up to the center of the field and then gradually tapers down on the other side. That natural drainage helps push the rainwater off to the perimeter drainage system. And, you know, there is drains entirely around that space. So it's, you know, a very effective drainage system that's there. In addition, Mr. DeMeo told me that if a field was to be changed from grass to turf with the type of existing drainage system that we have, they have a technique what's called setting up a herringbone drainage system, which really provides a number of small depressions along the entire surface of the turf field, which really allows the entire field to dissipate and shed tremendous amounts of rainwater in a very short period of time. So there would be very few occasions where, you know, the field would be rendered unplayable because of very strong storms. You know, it really is self-policing at that point, where it would be, you know, a problem where if you had 3 inches of rain in an hour, the field's not playable for 6 hours. You know, basically within 30 minutes, you would probably be back to normal. That's there. So those are the key points of information I was able to discern today. If there are other questions or information needs on this, I'm more than happy to accept any questions right now on it to further follow up.
Mr. Branda?
Thanks, Dr. Fletcher. I'm not sure if this is a question for you or for Richard or Dr. Brummett, but what's the timeline in terms of deadlines as to when this would need to be approved? Because I understand the motion's not going to be read tonight. So what is the deadline for that? And is the facilities committee meeting again in the future? Thanks.
Right. There would be nothing immediate on this. When you have a chance for the full board to really review the capital improvement plan, it's on page 9 of the document, and that's for long-term potential bonding. You know, we have established a starting number of $4 million for the project, which was going to be both Alumni Field as well as the vast space that's behind the tennis courts on the lower section of Newington High School, where we'd have substantial playing space for multiple sports for the extended seasons of sporting activity. Obviously, this still has to go through the vetting of what will be asked for if it ends up being one field, where it would be at either Veterans Field, or maybe there's a need to do one of the soccer fields. You know, all these decisions are going to be part of the ongoing conversation that the facilities committee will have and will be brought forward, you know, at a meeting, you know, sometime in a few weeks from now, or the next meeting in January. You know, it's not fair for us or anybody to ask for a vote for the full board without really getting a chance to vet this and see and ask these type of questions to know what's there. So, and on this particular, where it was ranked as number 3, this would be on what would be the bonding consideration schedule. So we would need the town's support for this. They may choose to go with the pay-as-you-go program. You know, this document that we put together really gets the conversation started with the town as far as making longer-term decisions on what will move and what will not.
And I believe the question was asked as to whether the facilities subcommittee would meet again. I would say absolutely. We've got much more to discuss. In fact, that by then, Dr. Fletcher and I will have had our meeting with the mayor, and we may have some information about the town CIP and where technology may fall. So that will be helpful information. So I believe we would recommend a meeting right after the holiday break. And the town had asked us for the CIP plan by this month. We will have to reach out and say that we need some more time to deliberate. So I would probably send a memo off to the town manager indicating that we probably won't have the plan approved until January, in terms of the timeline issue that Mr. Branda raised.
Okay. Okay. Would you like me to move on to the second item, which was the current year board CIP request? Okay. In the packet of the 10-page report for what the proposed plan is, page 6 of that is the proposed reallocation of this year's resources to better match what's going on, where the needs have migrated to, and just how operations are going. You know, as I mentioned earlier, the board CIP account can be nimble. We have a number of categories and classifications that are available for use for us that allows us to put the money against the most important priority at that point in time if desired. You know, we do write a script for determining a basic skeleton of where we'd like to go, but these are always subject to change based on urgent matters, urgent needs that come up, as well as opportunities that present themselves, which with a level of financial resources can make a real difference to the school district. So the question that was posed to us last night was, is there anything that can be done in the reallocation of this year's current CIP profile of projects and potential work where enough money would be could be allocated to include 3 buses into the current year CIP board CIP proposal that could be acted on, and that would really be a plus and a minus equaling 0. So if I'm going to add $300,000 in the vehicle line for school buses, I've got to make reductions equaling $300,000 across the other active programs. So I did put together the approach I was going to take on this, there were about 10 projects I would adjust downward to make this happen for buses. 6 or 7 of them were smaller dollar values, and I'm talking $25,000 to $40,000 in the allocation for the year, which really are reactions to what is happening each year. That would be carpeting, painting, furniture needs. We don't have those identified specifically as yet. Those during the springtime would be gathered, and we would find out what the needs are, and we would react to it for furniture replacement or carpet that needs to be replaced in different classrooms around the districts, or repainting work. All of these are things that are looked at in the February, March, April timeframe for making decisions in May to get these things planned and done so that things are ready to roll for the start of the next school year. That's not always the case, but that's kind of the cycle of we're building and adjusting our current plan and then executing it shortly thereafter. Okay. I'm pleased to say that of what was viewed are really the key elements that were in the plan, that being the continued support for the roof work at the high school, which was already done, went through. We have security vestibules planned for Ruth Chafee and for John Patterson for later, just after starting next year. We have money for the redesign, rebuilding of the parking lots on the Church Street side and on the rear of John Patterson for being done next summer. We have $100,000 earmarked for the restoration of the track at the Alumni Field. And, the other projects have been diminished, in different amounts to get us to these levels. And that would allow us to put in the 3 buses into the board CIP vehicle line item. So, it's a plus and minus equaling 0, but it reshuffles the resources to address the needs and the concerns of the board at this time. So this does also have impact on other parts of the book. So that needs to be done once we sort of have a consensus about where we're going, because I have to adjust other things as a byproduct of this consensus. So this is really providing an alternative approach for utilization of this year's board CIP money compared to what was originally passed or approved and passed a year ago. So, any questions?
I don't see any questions.
Okay. All right. Moving on. The third item was the question about the technology reserve, where there's $181,000 there now. Over the last few years, we've added service warranty programs through the manufacturer of the devices for Chromebooks that we buy each year to replace and supplement the fleet that we have. And talking with our technology director today, he was telling me there's about 4,700 devices earmarked for student use, as well as additional Chromebooks for our paraprofessional staff and other uses around the district, along with our fleet of spares and replacements that are here. So there's well over 5,000 devices that we're managing in the Chromebook arena that's here. When I spoke to Mr. Holland about this in the plan, this year he was saying that there's over 2,000 Chromebook damage tickets that have gone through, and these can be minor things where a key isn't working right. You do have cracked keyboards, motherboard problems that are there. But in total, the sheer number of items that are floating through the recycling process to keep all the kids in a working Chromebook is substantial. And by doing that, it was a bit impractical for us to try to do everything in-house ourselves. By brokering off this work, we have a high-powered resource available outside, so we can turn these around quickly. minimize the downtime and the issues. And all we really are managing ourselves are those devices that are out of warranty at this point. So it gives us a much ability to have a leaner staff, and we're able to manage this really successfully, for the benefit of the kids and the staff. In looking at how this has unfolded with the insurance reserve over the last couple of years, we now have enough money in there to actually use the reserve to purchase the warranties on the devices we get. Right now we're getting, this year there's $55,000 that have been received in the fund. Maybe that'll tick up to about 60 by the time the year's done, because it's basically 95% of the money is received by October 1st for each annual cycle. And as we're looking at our replacement number of devices, we would probably average around, it's about $70 a contract for a warranty, 3-year warranty. And if we're buying 1,000 devices a year on average, that's here, that would be $70,000 we could draw on the reserve to pay for. And then we would just have our out-of-pocket costs for repairing out of warranty devices, or if we need to fill a specific hole on an emergency basis for buying a dozen Chromebooks for someplace because we're caught short, we would have that resource. And we could see, how long we could sustain that. We may drop off a bit in the value, but it would give us an approach that would allow us to then buy Chromebooks through the operating budget or whatever financial facility is provided by the town for this at a lower cost, because the Chromebook itself is probably $350, and tack on a $70 3-year warranty, we're buying right now $420. By splitting that, it will help us manage our budget requests and the town's ability to know that we're out shopping for the best available deal and utilizing the insurance reserve to really fulfill the full spectrum of needs that we have in this area. So any questions, group?
Ms. Yap?
How much is the extended warranty?
Last time we went out for warranties was $70 a unit. I don't know what generation of Chromebooks that was, though. It's probably a Generation 8. Might be a Generation 9.
Thank you.
And Ms. Rose? Muted again.
I said, Dr. Fletcher, may I ask Mr. Giacomo, what's the question? Right?
Yes.
Isn't that what I'm supposed to do, is go through you?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So, Lou, how many times can you, and you probably don't know this answer, but if you can ask Craig, how many times did the district utilize the extended warranty?
In the last year, I would say we had, of the 2,000 devices, I bet 1,800 to 1,900 of those went back out on warranty claims to the manufacturer or his agent.
Okay. All right, Ms. Yap, you have another question?
Sorry, I left my hand up by accident.
Okay. All right. I don't see any more hands, so we can move on.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't have anything else for discussion at this point, unless there were clarifications or I was off point on some of the information I gathered since last night.
Well, I think we're good now.
I do too. Thank you.
Okay. So it's my understanding that we're not going to make any motions at all concerning this tonight. So we're going to just move this agenda item forward to our next meeting in January. Okay. And that will give the committee a chance to meet again as well. Okay. So does that conclude the information?
It does conclude the facilities report to be continued. So
okay.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher.
All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to our student representatives, if they're still awake and still with us. We know they have to get up very early tomorrow morning. So do we have them? I don't know who's going to go first.
Yeah, I'll let Jimmy get started today. So
okay.
Yeah, Jimmy gets to go first. So first off, aside from all of the math, the numbers and the money being spent. The music and arts program at Newington High School. So right now, the big ticket item is the fact that Into the Woods, the musical, the casting has been complete. Thank God. I know everyone was on edge about that one. And rehearsals will get started after break in January. Other items include chamber choir is going on their New York trip this Friday. The 17th, they'll be gone all day. It's a nice little getaway. We're going to be doing a performance workshop. Yay. And we're going to see the Broadway show Chicago. So that should be fun. Chorus concert on December 20th for those of you who are interested, and an orchestra concert on December 16th. As far as sports go, so the sports report, basketball. The first game was December 14th, which I believe was this Tuesday. Games are to be played with masks on. They are hoping that as the season goes on, this will change because, well, playing with masks on isn't exactly the most fun experience in the world, but safety overall. As far as the cheer squad goes, there is no winter cheer season happening due to the lack of coaches due to the post-fall season. So incident happening there. As far as the indoor track team goes, our first meet is going to be this Friday and Saturday. We also completed a team-wide toy collection for CCMC, which was completed and delivered on Sunday. We had a lot of team participation, which was really, really good. And yeah, we will be wearing masks at our first meet, though. As far as hockey goes, they recently completed a jamboree against Cheshire, Wethersfield, and Connacht. And they had a fundraiser on December 10th, which was last Friday, at the Newington Ice Arena. Boys swimming. They're currently having a toy drive for the Connecticut Children's Hospital and an alumni meet on December 22nd. Upcoming / past events, which these are both past events. So today was our Wacky Wednesday for the month, which was Ugly Sweater Day. And actually, we had a very, very large amount of participation from both staff and students, which was great. And we had Pajama Day on December 10th, which basically was if you donated $1 to your homeroom, you got to wear pajamas for the day, and all the proceeds went to the Children's Hospital. So all good there. Vidisha, I'll pass the torch to you.
Yep. So just to summarize some of the clubs, for DECA, the competitors are working on preparing. We've been completing role plays, both with the 2 advisors as well as student peer editing, and we're also completing the written exams. Those going to Florida are working with the advisor to prepare for the trip and make sure that everything is worked out for that. And at our last meeting, we made fleece tie blankets to donate to the Children's Hospital in time for the holidays. Women in Leadership, they are currently holding a donation drive to collect personal hygiene products for the victims of domestic abuse at the Prudence Crandall Center. We have began debating for Debate Club. The first debate was held earlier this month around the topic of education, and we had a lot of students provide interesting perspectives on education concerns that we brought up during this debate. In terms of student council, which would be us, we have split into different committees: Spirit, Government / Administration, Community Service, and Appreciation Days. And all the committees are currently working to get the ball rolling. The Spirit Committee has planned to decorate part of the school for the winter / holiday season. Today, we made a backdrop for to take pictures for Ugly Sweater Day, which was a big hit. It was in the CAF, so during lunch waves and open, students could take pictures in front of it for the yearbook and just for them to have. The service committee is collecting suggestions, and they're going to be deciding their next project soon. And the Crochet Club has begun their meetings, and new members are being taught how to crochet, and they're trying to decide on their general project for everyone right now. In terms of academics and honor societies, Social Studies Honor Society has informed their newly inducted members, and we elected officers at the last meeting. The induction ceremony is going to be December 21st. National Honor Society, we are continuing to work on service projects, especially during this time of year. English National Honor Society is doing an annual fundraiser of gift cards or monetary donations to support families in need in Newington. We have also started a other project, which is Seniors to Seniors, where high school seniors send letters to senior citizens, which is just to spread some positivity and build some connections. Science National Honor Society, we had our first speaker, and we decided to start with somebody in our school. We had Miss Freeze. She spoke to the members of this honor society about being a volunteer as an EMT, and she answered all the questions people may have and kind of just explained how that works. And moving on to just a couple general things, a student, Elsa Raymond, has taken the initiative to place period and personal hygiene products in all the women's bathrooms. And the concept she is promoting is you take one and replace it with something if you are able to. And this is an important thing because at our last meeting, we had discussed this as a part of student council, and now we have reached out to Elsa because this isn't something she should necessarily have to take on her own. And if she needs help, we are more than willing to help, if that's in a monetary amount or just making sure everything is being replenished. And this is just a huge thing because prior to this, if you want products, you need to go to the nurse where you have to write your name down, and the quality of the products isn't necessarily as great, which this is being refilled by girls who know what works for them. So it's pretty important. And a lot of dress code talk today, but the new dress code development is that brimless hats and hats that don't cover your face or ears are now allowed. And I didn't realize how big of a difference this would make, but I have noticed a huge increase in students being thrilled to wear beanies and such, especially during this season. And dress code is one of the topics that the Government Administration Committee for Student Council would like to work on, especially with women in leadership, because they were the ones responsible for the change with the hats. And that's everything I have today. Sorry, that was a lot. We didn't get a chance to present last month. So.
Well, thank you very much. Now, I'll open it up for board questions. We'll start with Mr. Branda.
Hi, sorry I went off camera. My computer is just kind of choppy. So, but really quick, Jimmy, your report and your energy at 9:30 at night after a long facilities discussion is much needed. So I really appreciate it. I think it's interesting, Vidisha, that you mentioned the dress code. As you hopefully heard earlier, I've got some concerns there. So it's interesting that all of that is tying together. One thing I wanted to point out, because I'm not sure if you both are scheduled to be here at our next meeting, but Dr. Brummett did let us know that we will be discussing the school calendar holiday stuff at our next meeting. So I'm not sure if you were scheduled to give a report then, but even if you're not, I would love to have you both attend, because I know you both shared some important perspective on that. So I would love for you to be a part of that discussion. And then lastly, really quick, because I know you want to get out here, I just wanted to congratulate you, Vidisha, on the Newington Life article. It was so wonderful to read and really just shined a light not only on you as a tremendous student and community member in Newington High School, but it just, for me personally, reading it just made me so proud of our town and so proud of our district that we have people like you growing into such tremendous leaders. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Miss Weaver.
As always, just incredible work, guys. I really appreciate this. And your energy at 9:30 at night. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, really excited for Into the Woods. I love that musical. I'm so excited. I saw Miss Wagner and we were just talking. We were like, what's the musical? Do we know it? And I know I was like, it's gonna get cast around now. So I'm just really excited to hear that. Camber's always a great trip. I may see you in New York this weekend, so that'd be great. And just really appreciate, well, one, Jimmy, your sports report. If, this doesn't work out, you have a future there. ESPN's right down the road. But really appreciate, as always, the thoroughness of your report. Vidisha, thank you so much for that. I think, I was just thinking you asked for service ideas, and one of the things I've been thinking about is actually, I love this idea, and you kind of you jumped ahead right to my idea of seniors to seniors. I think our senior population could really use a lot of attention from our younger generation. A lot of the doors I knocked on, they just really wanted someone to talk to. And I think we've got a lot of talkative students out there. So I think it's a great idea, not just letters, but perhaps visitations as well. When it's safe. So I think that's a great idea. And I'm just really glad to hear that. And, I think in regards to also just the period products, I think it doesn't need to necessarily, this is a really great initiative, but I don't think it should be on the girls to have to get good period products. So I hope we can, you know, kind of work on a solution to find ways that we make these more accessible than having to go to the nurse, and make them of quality. I know that's an issue not only at this school district, but school districts across the country. I work with advocacy groups on period poverty all the time. And it's something, you know, colleges work on, and whether it should be funded by student government or by, you know, the board budget. I just think it's something that we could have a deeper conversation about. So happy to do that with the Student Council and Women in Leadership Club, which I'm really glad to hear is launching and doing great stuff. So just appreciate all of the thoroughness, guys, and look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hutt-Wagner?
I just wanted to know, as you both were reading your reports, I heard toy drives, letters to seniors, work with women's shelters, food drives, just the amount of community service and giving back. And I just think students' pulse on real world issues and coming together to solve them, even in little ways like this, is just absolutely commendable, and really shows true leadership. And so hearing that tonight just really warmed my heart. I would love you both to come talk to my 6th graders just about some of those things that you all are doing. Very interesting about the beanies. It made me think of Jughead Jones. I don't know if I'm dating myself on that, but that's what it made me think of. And thank you both for being here as always. Your perspective is so very valued. And I think it would be wonderful to have your perspective as we go forward to talk about the holidays, as was mentioned. And then after this, go get some good sleep.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Drozd?
Very super quick. So, Vidisha, just to let you know, there are grants offered by the state to pay for feminine products. So I don't know if you want to talk to Tara about Mrs. Tigno. Sorry, I shouldn't refer to her like that. Or someone in the central office. I can get you some links and some information about that. So just let you know. And I just have to say, Jimmy, I love seeing you on here. I've known Jimmy forever. He's this energetic all the time. So I love you. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. I will definitely reach out about that.
All right. Thank you very much. And Mr. Sharma?
Hi, Vidisha and James. Thanks for the update. And I mean, the stuff that you guys are doing, it's so inspiring. So thank you for your leadership, and thanks for the update.
All right. Ms. Drozd, did you want to say something more, or did you just forget your hand? Oh, there we go. All right. Beat it up.
My computer doesn't work.
Like
I needed to.
It's tired. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, both of you, for your report. We appreciate the updates. We look forward to seeing you the next time around. Go get some sleep. Okay. So now we're going to be moving on to item F1, and that is the report on the staff allocation for 2021-2022. Dr. Brummett, take it away.
And I will hand it right over to Mr. Farisi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brummett, and thank you all again, Board of Education, for allowing me the opportunity to present again this evening. This is our annual staff allocation report for the 21-22 school year. And really the purpose of this report builds the foundation for as we now move into looking at building out next year's budget, seeing where we are right now and grounding ourselves in where we are today. Helps us then look at what our predicted student enrollment will be and what our staffing needs will be as we move forward into the budget process. So today is about where we are now. And so this is kind of a high-level summary of some of the following information that is outlined in the report that you have in your packet, F1. What I'll be going over today is a high-level summary of full-time equivalent positions by program and school, staff ratio comparisons, elementary class sizes, middle school class sizes, and the high school class sizes. So I'll kind of give you a broad landscape of what all of that looks like right now. And then, again, this will drive us into what we need to look for next school year. So in regards to staffing, this summer, all the way up through October 1, HCD worked very hard with our other leaders to fill 50 positions. 36 of those were certified staff, 34 contracts, and 2 long-term subs. Those positions were based off of 7 resignations, 6 retirements, 11 transfers, 1 memoriam, and 1 dismissal, as well as 10 new positions, which comprise 2 special education teachers, 2 ELL teachers or ML teachers, 1 math interventionist, 1 equity and inclusion specialist, whom you met again this evening, Dr. Hairston, 1 pre-K teacher, 1 humanities coach, 1 STEM coach, and 1 reading teacher. So those are the 36 certified staff. We also hired 14 non-certified staff. Those were based off of 6 resignations, 3 retirements, and 1 transfer, which included 4 new positions, 2 digital content specialists and 2 board certified behavior analysts, or BCBAs. So those are the 50 positions that we filled between last school year and this October 1 to make sure that we had all of the staffing that we needed for our students this school year. There were a couple key drivers in those decisions, particularly in some of the new positions that I explained. Those included changes to student population and our changing demographics that go along with that, as well as the impact on learning due to COVID and some of the changes in the landscape of the education that we can provide right now. So I know you've seen this during your board retreat, but I thought it pertinent to share again this evening in regards to some of the shifts in demographics that we're aware of. As you look just throughout time, you see that coming into this school year, we're at our highest percentage of students requiring special education, our highest percentage of students with 504s, our EL, or now ML, multilingual student population is at its highest, as well as our free and reduced lunch. We've increased our open choice population to 110 students, and our magnet school population went down by 5. When you just take out the multilingual students and you just look at, what does 7.1% really mean? It's approximately 276 students in our district. And you can see here by school how that breaks down. So Elizabeth Green and John Patterson have some of the highest multilingual student population in the schools. And then you can see how it varies throughout, the other schools, the other 7 schools in district. So those are important key elements to take into account when I share with you earlier what some of those new positions that came in and helped supported, as well as some of the coaching to help support teachers in all areas of the organization be effective, not only with multilingual students, but all the varying demographic shifts in our population of students. So when it comes to student enrollment, we took a look at what would our anticipated enrollment be for this school year, and it was geared at 3,897. Our actual enrollment as of October 1st, which is what we report to the state, was 3,900 students. So a very close prediction to what our actual numbers are. So that's what we use to base all of our decisions. As far as what our classrooms look like, I like to talk about some of the major staffing changes to accommodate all of the needs that I've just shared so far. So if we look at the program or school, which would be on page 2 of your report, I have highlighted in yellow some of those changes for you. You'll see 2 areas that didn't get highlighted in the yellow, which I wish had, which would be instructional coaches and speech clinicians. So if I could just share with you some of those major staffing changes that occurred between last year and this school year. We increased our math intervention services at the elementary schools. So you'll see right here, we went from 3 interventionists to 4 for this school year at the elementary level. You'll see a few changes at the other levels as well, and those are predicated on schedules. So those wouldn't be new staff or a change in staff, like a reduction or an addition. They would be based on interventionists who either picked up more intervention assignments or actually took on a whole class assignment, because sometimes we allocate an interventionist to teach one class throughout the day. And that would account for those variations. Also, a highlight of the major staffing changes include our instructional coaches. As I mentioned earlier, we did, for the first time ever, approve the hiring of 2 coaches at the high school level, a STEM coach and a humanities coach. Those coaches are working really hard and are highly welcomed at Newington High School. In our area of wellness, we actually reduced staffing. We had a retirement last year, and we realized a need to only bring back a certain portion of that. So we did not bring back a full-time person to replace the retirement. We just brought back actually the same person at a 0.2. We did increase in the area of reading coaches. What we did here again is we were able to improve in what you'll see in the area of our reading department, the reading instruction to help support literacy. So we had elementary literacy teachers that were 0.75. We had 3 of those positions, and we improved those to 1.0, which would equate in the total to the additional 0.75. That is to help with our students who are struggling with reading at this time. In the area of special education, we also made an improvement, and I shared with you that we did hire some new special education teachers. In the area of multilingual education, we also hired 2 new staff to improve in that area and help with our supports for the growing needs and of our students. We did also increase our speech clinicians by 0.5 to help improve in that area where we're seeing a need for continuous growth. And what we see here for Newington High School is actually just an overall increase minimally to help support some of the increases in student population there. So these are kind of just some of the major shifts in what we've seen in our staffing changes from last year to this year. As we kind of go through and look at the staff ratios, staff-student ratios, and what that now looks like in action, this would be kind of a larger spectrum of what it looks like. So I'll kind of just give you an example of what you see here. This is the pupil staff ratio chart. And what you have, if you just take the first row where you see 70 and 69, in 2020-21, we had 70 staff. In 2021-22, we had 69 staff. And that's for elementary classroom teachers, if we keep going across. And so what you're going to see on the last 2 columns would be for the 2021 school year, the ratio is 1 teacher to every 19.2 students. And similarly, this year, it would be 1 teacher, and the ratio of students is 20.4. And you can follow this chart down, and you'll see how it kind of plays out both for not just elementary classroom teachers, but also elementary classroom teachers, which now includes art, music, physical education, and computer ed. So the special areas, and then total elementary school staff, what the ratios look like when you add it all together. So that would be kind of a larger big picture view at the elementary level. When you take a peek right now at class size based on the October 1st enrollment, this is what it looks like if you were to go across the chart at each grade level, starting at preschool, kindergarten, grade 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then by school. So you'll see Elizabeth Green has 3 teachers in kindergarten. The average or the class sizes are 19, 20, and 19. And then you keep going across to Reynolds, who have 4 kindergarten teachers, Patterson, and Chafee. and I'll let you take a look at this, but this is all in your report. So what we see here is that we have manageable class sizes. There are some areas where we always look to see if there's opportunities for reduction. For example, Chafee in kindergarten at 20 is an area that we kept a close eye on this year, but it didn't continue to grow. We weren't certain if it would or would not. So this is a manageable size that we're able to provide high quality instruction while supporting it with the additional tutorial staff that are in that school. And so we take a look at that, and we look pretty good there. When you take a look at the middle school staff student ratio, this chart is similar to the one that I shared before at the elementary level. And what we're seeing here for this year is a ratio in the classrooms of 1 to 20.9. And then when you now add in all of the other areas like music, wellness, computer ed, world languages, it's 1 to 15.7 staff to student ratio. And then total in the school is 1 to 10.1. But that's inclusive of everyone, even resource teachers. That's not what it looks like in the classroom, but in the classroom, this is what it looks like. In grade 5, as you go across at John Wallace Middle School, which is at the top of the chart, and then the lower end of the chart is Martin Kellogg Middle School. You can see our middle school class sizes. I am pleased to report that this year, the class sizes at the middle level are a tiny bit lower than they were last year. That is something we always look at just to see how we're doing at the middle level. And again, these are all manageable class sizes. When you look at grade 7 in John Wallace, you do start to see a few classes that are a little bit high. And we watch those carefully and provide the appropriate tutorial supports that are necessary in those classrooms. And similarly at the high school, this is the chart that shows kind of the staff student ratio. We're about in classrooms 1 to 17.4. When you add in all the other staff, it's about 1 to 12.5. And the total teachers to total classrooms is 1 to 16.7. And then this is in general what it looks like as you go through the departments. What you'll see here is the student enrollment, the number of sections, and then the average class size. And this varies based on a lot of the electives that we have. So these are just the averages, but if you go into classrooms, you'll see anything from 15 students to sometimes 25 students, depending on the elective or the course. It varies greatly, you know, the number in each classroom at the high school level based on all the options that students have. So with that, I would open it up at this time to any questions that you might have.
Ms. Droz?
I have a few. All right, first one. How many students do coaches work with in a small group? Because I remember 2 years ago, there was a like, oh, well, they work with them every once in a while. And then if they're not working in a small group, do they ever actually, do they co-teach? So how much like contact hour does an instructional coach have with a child? If you don't have that information, you can get it with me. And the second one, when we look at the ratios, and the
You've muted yourself, Ms.
You're gone, Danielle.
It's my computer. They gave me a bad computer on purpose because they knew that I was going to ask too many questions. So the ratio, does it count in instructional coaches as part of the staff and the reading teachers for the elementary school? Because you said it didn't for the middle school. So does it for the elementary school? That's my two questions. If you don't have those answers, you can get back to me.
Thank you so much. I think I would like to, you know, get back to you on the first question. On the second question, at the bottom of the chart, when it was the student pupil ratio, staff pupil ratio, that did include all teachers, all teachers in the building, which would include instructional coaches and reading interventionists. So yes.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Hutt-Wagner?
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, you mentioned at Wallace when you were looking at the 7th grade, some of those 25 student classes. I know you mentioned that there were some, I think you said supports kind of put in place. So I was just wondering what that would look like to assist those teachers and just making sure that with a large class size that things are kind of maintained. What does that look like? Thank you.
Absolutely. So at all schools, especially the elementary and the middle schools, our learning tutors support the instructional program. So they focus primarily in literacy and mathematics, and also do our interventionists. So what principals do, and as they're working in what Dr. Hairston was sharing earlier, our professional learning communities, and really looking at the data and how students are performing, would allocate those tutorial resources to the classrooms that require the support. So sometimes, whereas a classroom may have 25 students in it, if the teacher can manage those 25 students because maybe there isn't a grave discrepancy between the supports required in that classroom, the allocation of resources might not be there. But generally, we do see that, especially with the higher numbers in the classroom. So then those folks would come in at specific times during English language arts or mathematics, and they would provide small group instruction alongside with the teacher. So after the mini lesson is conducted and then students are either independent learning or breaking up into small group instruction, those resources would be in there to support those groups or those students that require it, along, again, with the teacher. And similarly with our interventionists, they might do push-in during that time to support that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't see any more questions, Mr. Farisi.
All right, well, thank you all very much for the opportunity to present this information.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number F2, discussion and action to establish dates for review of the superintendent's proposed 2022-23 budget. And that should be on page 29, if you're looking on your computer.
Dr. Fletcher, would you like the motion read?
Do you want to address it first, Ms. Brummett, Dr. Brummett?
I was just going to post it. I believe we reviewed it initially at a previous board meeting.
Yes.
So the dates have not changed. I believe nothing changed as a result of that evening's discussion.
Okay, then I'll entertain the motion.
I can do that.
Go ahead.
Move the Board of Education officially establish dates to review the superintendent's estimates for the 2022-2023 school budget to include February 2nd, 2022, February 8th, 2022, February 9th, 2022, February 16th, 2022, and February 23rd, 2022, as outlined in the memo from the superintendent of schools.
Second.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded. We'll open it up for any discussion that you may have. Seeing there isn't any discussion, I will move for the question. Are we going to do it by roll call? We have her still with us.
Madam Secretary, right?
No, Miss Craig, there she is.
Michael Branda,
Yes.
Danielle Drozd,
Yes.
Dr. Bruce Fletcher,
Yes.
Beth Mankey Hutfagner,
Yes.
Richard Laveri,
Laverier, yes. Yes.
Amy Parati,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Very good. So we will now move on to item number 3, discussion on board committee assignments.
And
So are there any questions related to the committee assignments that anybody wants to ask? Mr. Branda?
It's not relative to who was put on what committee, but I noticed that on our Chromebooks, we don't have the ability to, use Zoom for the town specific meetings, and some of the committees are going to be run by town leadership. So what drew my attention was the shared services. So I was wondering if maybe there was a way through Craig Holland, Dr. Brummett, if you could find out a way that maybe we could install that or have the capability to get Zoom onto these, because when I tried it, it didn't give me the permissions.
I will absolutely look into that.
Okay, Ms. Yop.
I actually was going to say the same thing that Michael Brando was saying, because I wasn't able to get on anything on the Chromebook. So I would like that as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Either you're all tired or you don't have any more questions. Okay. Seeing no further questions, we are going to move on to item number 4, which is an action item to adopt the superintendent and board goals. So that is item F4.
I can make the motion.
Please go ahead.
Move the Board of Education adopt the 2021-2022 superintendent and board goals discussed at the November 29th, 2021 Board of Education retreat.
Second.
Motion's made. Motion seconded by Mr. Branda. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Oh, we do have one. Ms. Weaver.
Sorry, I just want to say I really like these goals and I think it's great. We went over these also just for the public's note. We went over these at our board retreat where Dr. Brummett once again emphasized these. I don't think they changed much from the last time, but it's just important that I think these are really good goals and that we establish these. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. LaVerriere.
Very briefly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that with the goals, we need to keep more of a focus on equality over equity. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments? And I will move for the vote. Ms. Craig?
Michael Branda.
Yes.
Danielle Drozd. Yes. Dr. Bruce Fletcher.
Yes.
Beth Mankey Hutt-Wagner.
Yes.
Richard LaVerriere.
Abstain.
You're abstaining?
Yeah.
Amy Parati.
Yes.
Sam Sharma.
Yes.
Jessica Weaver.
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
Yes.
The motion passes by 8 with 1 abstained.
Okay, thank you very much. And we are going to move on to item number 5, which is an action item. So F5 in your packet. So if somebody wants to read the motion.
I can do it.
Okay.
Move the Board of Education approve the reallocation of funds from one program line to another as proposed by the superintendent of schools.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Now we'll open it up for discussion. Okay, seeing no discussion, I'm going to ask for the vote. Ms. Craig.
Michael Branda.
Yes.
Danielle Drozd.
No.
Bruce Fletcher.
Yes.
Beth Mankey Hutt-Wagner.
Yes.
Richard LaVerriere.
No.
Amy Parati.
Yes.
Sam Sharma.
Yes.
Jessica Weaver.
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
No.
The motion passes 6-3.
Okay. And we're going to move on to item number F6, the discussion and possible action on the board CIP. Ms. Job, do you have a question?
Did we go over the curriculum committee and Under new business, did we skip a few?
There was no curriculum committee that met. The only one was facilities committee and student representatives.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yep. Ms. Weaver?
Do we want to change the motion because we're tabling this, or is this vote down?
No, we should, yeah. We were. I thought we were going over
Hold on,
this.
Dr. Fletcher,
Is this the one that we're tabling and moving forward?
correct?
Yes. Okay.
So would you like
All
us to vote down the motion or
My
read it?
apologies. That was a lifetime ago.
All right.
No, it's best just to not take any action. And I, as the chairman, I'm going to move it forward. Okay? So we don't need to discuss it. All right. So that is the last item for our discussion and action tonight. We're moving on to item number G, which is public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. We want to give you an opportunity to share from the public, but we are going to limit your participation to 3 minutes. So you can call the number that is on the screen, or you can raise your hand if you're here in the meeting. And while we are waiting, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ask if there are any further comments that any board members would like to make. And Ms. Drost, you're right on cue.
And I'm not muted. I just want to there was a very good, it was a lot tonight, but I want to address something that happened about 3 hours ago. And it was I don't know if it's a board thing or if it's a Dr. Brummett thing. So if we are going to, as a district, require kids to quarantine, right? So we're saying to them, like, I'm just worried as a board member that we're saying you can't come to our school, but we're also not going to provide you with that ability to stream. So I think it's something that needs to be revisited. If we're requiring streaming, I would like us to also look at, or we're requiring quarantining. You know, I'm a teacher. When a kid quarantines because they've been exposed, I just turn my computer on and at least the kids can get my instruction. So that's one thing that I would like somewhere to have a conversation. And second, so my last name is Drost with a long O, and a lot of people are saying it wrong. So I just want to clarify it's Drost. And I love the fact I love my neighbor dearly. I don't know how it's gotten changed over the years. So that's all. I just wanted to say that that's how you say my last name.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Branda.
So, Ms. Drost, it also sounds like you're going to need the Chromebook replacement program based on how this meeting went. So, just really quick, from I think it was like the last motion that we did, I just wanted to request that in the future, you know, from my vantage point, it seemed like, because we had 3 no votes on that last item, it would have been great to hear discussion on that as to why, only to, you know, either maybe there were questions that Dr. Brummett and Lou could have answered, or, you know, maybe myself and the others that voted yes could have been informed as to why maybe voting no would have been a better decision. So I would just, you know, love to see us kind of work a little bit more collaboratively on some of the topics that people feel strongly about that they would vote no on. And I appreciate the no vote regardless, but I'm just asking for a little communication there so we can all work together on it. Thanks. And good job, Dr. Fletcher. First meeting, tough one, but you did great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Ms. Weaver?
This is why you don't let Michael Brandon go first, because he takes everything you're going to say. Yeah, I just think, like, most of our votes are unanimous and have been, and I'd like to keep it that way. So, like, if we want to talk about things, I'm happy to discuss. I know it's a very long meeting, but that's why we're here. We put in the time because we want to know what everyone's thinking. So that and making sure everyone's on mute when we need to be on mute. Because I know there's a lot of feedback this meeting. So just because we had a lot of guests on, so yeah, we need to work on that. But hopefully we won't be always virtual, and we can see each other again. But just want to say thank you to everyone. Going through a full meeting like this, you know, it's like a lot, but I think it's important that the public knows about everything that's going on, from parent input to our amazing everyday heroes and all of the awards, and then the things that are actually going on in the school. So, you know, I'm looking forward to next meeting, maybe a little shorter, maybe not. Happy to be here anyway. And congratulations, Dr. Fletcher, on your new meeting as chair.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Parati.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to also say great job tonight. I would also appreciate some discussion on some items, especially if we're not all in agreement on them. I'm just, trying to learn and understand things. So if there's a reason why the no vote happened, it would be just interesting what Mike said. Also with the quarantining and screen and stay and everything, I know that there's a lot of parents that are getting different experiences. So I'm not sure, my daughter just went back to school from being quarantined, and it wasn't a negative experience in my opinion, but I know not everyone's getting the same thing. So I think it would be something that maybe we can look at, or just figure out something with the parents and make sure that everyone is getting proper education when they are quarantined, because it's unfortunate that we have to deal with this, but it's something that is important, and we're going to have to deal with it for a little while longer. So thank you, everybody.
All right, and thank you. And Dr. Brummett.
Thank you, and I appreciate Ms. Prouty bringing that up. I would like to have the opportunity to discuss that at our January board meeting. There have been a big increase in kids needing to do the temporary remote again, as opposed to screen and stay, because of our uptick in cases. And I've had to speak to, I've lost count of how many parents I've spoken to about that. So I think it'd be important for me to put that all forward to the Board of Education, as well as some of our plans to make those who have to be quarantined have a little more consistent access to their educational experience. So we've got some things in the works. By January, I should be able to give the board a complete picture. And again, we were knee deep in screen and stay, and then we had significant uptick in COVID cases. Last week, 36. So we have to weigh those cases in our decision-making relative to whether to do screen and stay or quarantine. So more information to follow. And it will be responsive to many of the comments we heard tonight earlier in public comments as well. Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to everybody for your participation. And it was a long night, but buckle your seatbelts. We have a few more like this that are going to be coming, but we're going to get through them. Okay. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, shut your computers off. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.